தரரரரன. நார Om Tat Sat. Good morning to all of you. We have all gathered on this auspicious day. Today is coincidentally Vaikunta Ekadashi and also Gita Jayanti. So on such an auspicious day, it's befitting that we have this program. So on behalf of Precha Pratishtana and Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you who have gathered here. On a typical Saturday morning, which is filled with lethargy, you have gotten up and you have traveled long distances. Some of them have come from the other city, and also the notorious traffic of Bengaluru doesn't help much, but even with all those difficulties, people have come here, which is a testimony for the popularity of the programs which we have yearly. So I'd like to speak a few words about Precha Pratishtana. So Precha Pratishtana is an organization with the primary goal of making the Indian cultural heritage accessible by two means. One is to publish original research, and the other is to produce lucid translations of works in Indian languages to English and vice versa. So our main activity happens through our website, precha.in. As is the hallmark of everything Indian, our content is inspired by timelessness or eternity, which is the Sanatana. A more detailed introduction will be provided in the form of a video later. So we have all our dignitaries on stage. I'd just like to welcome them. So I'll start with our chief guest first. It is our great fortune to have Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi. In spite of his busy schedule, being right in the capital city and in the vicinity of the seat of power, he has graced this gathering with his presence. A very warm welcome. Professor Varakhedi currently serves as the Vice Chancellor of the Central Sanskrit University, New Delhi, which is the topmost university in India for Sanskrit. Originally from Bangalore, he is a former student of the Purna Prajna Vidyapita. Formerly, he has also served in many positions, such as the Director of the Sanskrit Academy in Osmania University, Vice Chancellor of Kavi Kulaguru Kalidasa Sanskrit University at Ramtek, Acting Vice Chancellor in Gondwana University and Karnataka Sanskrit University, and also as Honorary Dean of Chinmaya Ishwara Gurukula. He has authored and edited several books and academic papers, such as Shastra Paddhati. He is a recipient of several distinguished awards. The chief among them is Maharshi Badarayana Vyasa Samman from the President of India. Most importantly, his expertise is a unique amalgamation of ancient and the modern. He specializes in Navya Nyaya and computational linguistics. I have been specifically instructed to be extremely brief when it comes to introducing our own members of Precha, lest I be accused of being miserly. It is only in the interest of time. Still, I'd like to introduce each of them in a small and brief manner. I'll start with Shatavadani Dr. R. Ganesh. Dr. R. Ganesh is the foremost Avadhani, poet, polymath, scholar par excellence, and most importantly, he is one of our advisors. To even summarize his contributions would take a lot of days, so I'll skip from that. I just want to say that he is the very embodiment of Abhijatya and Sanatana. If not for him, none of us would have known anyone here and would have no reason to be here in the first place. So next I'd like to introduce our dear friend, Sri Hari Ravikumar. He's an author, translator, musician with varied interests, right from Vedanta, which deals with the supreme, to the pedagogy, which deals with making people understand everything from supreme to the mundane. He has authored, translated many books related to all aspects of Indian culture. He is also an expert in design and publication of books. I'd like to introduce Sri Arjun Bharadwaj. an author, translator, and a scholar in various aspects related to Indian literature, art forms, and he's one of the contributing editors of our journal Precha. Even Greek and Latin has not remained Greek and Latin to him. So one can only wonder how skilled he would be in Indian languages. He has authored and translated many books and research papers. The Essential Mahabharata is one of them, which he has co-translated with Hari, which has also won an award for Best Translation. Next, I'd like to introduce Vidwan Shri B.N. Shashikiran. He's also an author, poet, translator, and an erudite scholar, and one of the contributing editors of Precha. He has the ability to churn out high-quality contents, be it prose or poetry. He has also authored and translated many books. He is also the recipient of Kendra Sahitya Academy Award for translation for the magnum opus of Devudu Narasimha Shastri, the Mahabrahmana, to Sanskrit with Dr. Ganesh. Next, I'd like to introduce Sri Kashyap Nayak. He's an advocate, vocalist, and one of the legal advisors and trustees of our journal Precha. He is a scholar not only in the modern aspects of law, which he is expected to be, but he has also thoroughly studied the ancient texts related to our Indian law through the voluminous work of the history of Dharma Shastra. He captures our hearts through his mellifluous singing as easily as he snares his opponents through his arguments. With this brief introduction, I'd like to discuss about the agenda of today's gathering. So, along with the much awaited Preksha calendar, which will be launched today, as we have been doing every year, Varshe Varshe Kartavya, we also have 3 extraordinary books to offer. The first one is The Essential Sanatana Dharma by Shatavadani Dr. R. Ganesh and Sri Hari Ravi Kumar, a ready reckoner on the core aspects of Sanatana Dharma. Sri Shashikiran will introduce that book. Then the second book would be The Indian Perspective of Truth and Beauty in Homer's Epics by Sri Arjun Bharadwaj. Perhaps a unique work to bridge the Orient and the Occident. Shatavadani Dr. R. Ganesh will be introducing that book. Then we have the third book, which is Some Pillars of Society, the volume 6 of the series Art Gallery of Memories by Arjun Bharadwaj and others. It's a translation of the 6th volume of the Gnapaka Chitra Shale, titled Halavaru Sarvajanikaru by D.V. Gundappa. Sri Kashyap Nayak will be introducing this book. The Preksha calendar 2024 features sculptures from the Gupta period, aptly referred to as the Golden Age of India. Sri Arjun Bharadwaj will give a brief introduction of the calendar once the books are released. So with this brief introduction and the agenda, I'd like to request our chief guest, along with the dignitaries on the stage, to offer the books and the calendar to the world. Preksha Pratisthana has been very fortunate to be advised by stalwarts of various fields related to Indian culture. In our advisory board, we have Dr. S.L. Bhairappa, Professor L.V. Shantakumari, who is here, Nadoja Dr. S.R. Ramaswamy, who is okay, Dr. T.S. Satyavati, Dr. S.R. Leela, who is not here shortly, and Sri Sandeep Balakrishna. We would like to thank our advisors for their constant encouragement and support. Now, with this introduction, I'd request our chief guest to offer the books and the calendar to the world, along with the dignitaries. Perhaps with so many books and calendars being released, we think we should all be Chaturbhujas or Ashtabhujas to hold all the books and calendars at the same time. So, as a token of our respect, I'd like to ask one of our trustees, Sri KBS Ramchandra, to give away complimentary copies to some of the dignitaries who are in the audience. Nadoja Dr. S.R. Ramaswamy. Illa. Professor L.V. Shantkumari. Dr. T.S. Satyavati. Srimati Nirupama and Sri Rajendra. Sri V. Nagraj. Sri Sudhakar Joyce. Sri Nagendra. Along the way, we have been immensely helped in every aspect of publishing, editing, designing, sketches, and adequate feedback from various friends. So, as a mark of our gratitude, on behalf of Precha, we would like to give them some complimentary copies. I call upon stage Dr. Pratap Simha. I'd like to ask Sri Rajneesh from Gayatri Prints, Sri Ashok. Ashok has helped us in illustrations for our Napaka Chitrashalaya Volume 6. I'd like to call upon the list of translators in Napaka Chitrashalaya Volume 6. Srimati Vaishnavi Nayak, Sri Paresh Nadig.
Our young friends here who have helped us in review this volume. It so happens that when scholars write a volume, they do not have any audience in mind. This is especially true for Dr. R. Ganesh, whose writings are often in the manner that most of us here understand. But it is also very important to reach all kinds of people, especially the youngsters, people like us, who need so much of direction and so much of inspiration from people who have toiled hard, put so many years in this field, burned their fingers, and hence are in a position to guide all the youngsters. And that, I think, has been accomplished remarkably in this volume. And this book also comes with a subtitle, An Introduction to Hinduism Based on Primary Sources. This is also very important, and it tells us the intention of the authors to introduce Sanatana Dharma to modern readers in the modern world. Also in a modern idiom, the English language, the authors use many examples throughout this work from the modern world, from disciplines as varied and varying as chemistry, economics, and so on, that everybody can understand, only to illustrate the point, only to serve as pointers to understand the concepts better. But at the same time, never have they watered down the concepts. Never have they compromised on the rigor. Never have they put the rigor that is so much expected of a work like this at a disadvantage. That is the greatness of the work. I would like to point out 3 cardinal features of this work that, at least to my mind, stand out at the very outset. One, like I already said, it is very easy to follow. 2, it is authentic and reliable. And 3, it is non-sectarian. Now, these 3 aspects of the work confer upon it a unique status among works of a similar kind, of a similar manner. As all of us here would understand, in recent times there has been a great interest evinced in all matters Indian about Sanatana Dharma. It is to our greatest pleasure. Who would not like our mother, our own cultural heritage to be in the limelight? But at the same time, it is very important to take stock of things in a learned manner, in as authentic a manner, to not disparage the tradition of which it is a part. And that is why the subtitle of this work, based on primary sources, is very important. Whatever we say, whatever we pronounce, should have some source, should be based on proper textual evidences or oral evidences, should have a basis in the tradition. That is very important. Moola nishtata is very important. And in enumerating these traits of the work, I am reminded of a verse from Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha. While speaking of the various kings who ruled in the lineage of the Raghus, he says, Guna gunanubandhitva tasya saprasava iva. Tasya saprasava iva. It appears as though these various qualities are at loggerheads with each other, are conflicting. On the surface, if one views these, it might appear very conflicting. I will give you a very simple example. If a work is written in an easy to understand style, chances are it won't be very rigorous. And if the work seeks to be authentic or reliable, chances are it won't be non-sectarian. It will be biased to a kind of narrative. And it is to the we should be immensely grateful to the authors for steering clear of all these seeming conflicting reasons and have presented to us a cream of Sanatana Dharma in this work. Most times, easy to understand works will present vaporous and vacuous theories, which will evaporate upon after the first reading, after you read the first page. And works that seem to maintain the academic rigor oftentimes are lifeless. And this work is none of it. It is so full of life. It is true to the spirit of Sanatana Dharma, which looks at life as a life of celebration. That is what this work aims to accomplish and paint a picture of the tradition for us. And also it is non-sectarian in nature. This is also very important. It does not force down your throats an ideology that appeals to the authors. It does not do any of that. If you read through the kernel of this work, which is only about 70 pages, you will be blessed with the equipment to understand any form of life, any tradition, any cultural heritage, any academic discipline that forms the bedrock of Indian culture. Through this light, you will be able to understand everything else, and that is the greatest strength of this work. It identifies and elucidates the cardinal concepts of Sanatana Dharma, and very importantly, it adopts a first principles approach. In many works of this kind, we do not find this first principles approach. What do I mean by that? It does not take anything for granted. Of course, you cannot explain every single concept by assuming that the readers are totally uninformed. but the times we live in calls for such an approach. And while adopting the English language, it becomes even more difficult. And the forces that have come together here in the form of Dr. R. Ganesh, who represents the quintessence of the tradition and years of learning and contemplation in the field, apart from his expository skills, coupled with Hari Ravikumar, who is as industrious and with this assiduous nature to take the essence of Sanatana Dharma to the last person standing, these forces have combined here to make this volume easy and authentic, like I said. So this first principles approach has made the work very easy to follow, and the claims that the authors have made or the points that they have raised in the kernel of the work have been expanded, have been substantiated in the notes. So none of their statements is without adhara. So that adhara, parata, stands out in every page of the work. The work also includes 3 appendices in the form of foundational texts of our tradition, starting from the Vedas, Upavedas, and Vedangas, Itihasa, Purana, Darshana, and so on. In enumerating these texts, they have followed the classical model of the Chaturdasha Vidyasthanas or Ashtadasha Vidyanasthanas. In fact, a week ago, there was a conclave of scholars in Pune, and Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi ji, who led the deliberations in that stage as well, made a very pertinent point that in these days, people give all kinds of titles to the Indian tradition, to the knowledge that is embedded in our tradition, but the classical term that the tradition has adopted is Vidyasthanani or Prasthana, and this book happily it adopts the same approach of enumerating the Vidyasthanani. It doesn't stop at enumerating the foundational texts as well. It goes on to give a glossary of terms, because like I said, the authors have chosen the English language to explain these concepts, and more often than not, English readers are unfamiliar with our traditional concepts. They have elucidated those points as well. They have also included books for further reading. So if a person develops some amount of interest in the tradition and wishes to go forward by reading a couple of books, they have also included videos to watch. They have given QR codes to look up those references immediately. So the authors, they have spared no efforts in order to make the book as accessible to everyone. Not just the neophyte who is a tenderfoot who is trying to enter this grand mansion of Sanatana Dharma, but also a person who is well initiated who wishes to read further. So there is something in the book for all kinds of readers. And every section in this book, apart from the kernel and the list of references, the notes and the book lists, every section is self-complete. Whether you want to use this as a reference book to look for authentic sources, what are the sources that I can look for? Starting from primers, starting from the primary sources, and going on to very detailed expositions, this book includes every of those concepts. So what are the broad concepts that are discussed in this work? Of course, we have the Purusharthas and the 3-layered epistemology that the Indian tradition presents to us in the form of Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhyatma, and also the authors very pertinently include the 4th element of Adhiyajna, which is very important. And I will take a moment to narrate a story that the authors themselves have narrated in order to impress upon us the importance of the tattva of yajna. We have the concepts of Rita, Satya, Rina, and the Trigunas, which are Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Chaturashrama, Sanskara, Desha, Kala, Jiva, Jagat, and so many other things. Now these concepts might appear either high-flown, or to some people, unfortunately, they might not have any meaning at all. What the authors have done in this work is they have gone to the heart of these concepts and have presented them as they can be understood very simply. Anybody who reads the kernel of this work of about 70 pages, they will be able to understand all these concepts, and that is the greatest contribution of the authors in this modern times, I would like to emphasize. Now, to To elucidate all these concepts, one can adopt various approaches. One of the approaches that the authors have adopted is they have narrated stories at several instances in the book. They have taken examples from the modern world, like I said. And one of the stories is very, very attractive. They say that the Devas and Asuras, they were brothers. And it is said that they went to their father Prajapati, especially the Asuras, they went to their father Prajapati, having a point of contention with their illustrious younger brothers. They said that people, they revere and they worship the Devas, while they disparage us, they denounce us, they do not respect us at all. They call you your Rakshasas, your Asuras, and so on. The father Prajapati very calmly listened to all of these and said, my children, you do not understand the essence of the principle of yajna, and naturally people do not respect you. The Asuras did not agree with this observation. They said, of course we understand the principle of yajna. The Suras understand it as well, but it is not that we don't understand. And the father Prajapati said, these people will not give this up so easily, and that is why the Asuratva is there holding on to a point until it is proven for them. It has to be hammered down their heads. And so the Prajapati set them a test. The Asuras themselves asked for a test. We will take up a test that you set for us, and we will come out with flying colors. What was the test? The father Prajapati was very clever. What did he do? He made everybody sit on the floor. He placed a very delicious, delectable meal in front of them and asked them to eat. It was as simple as that. There was a delicious piece of meal which was supposed to be partaken of, eaten. And there was one caveat, there was one condition. You are not supposed to bend your elbows. There is the food in front of you, served on a delicious offering spread, but you are not supposed to bend your elbow. Your arm moves in this direction, in that direction, but you cannot eat the food. The Asuras were clueless. They did not know what to do. But the Suras were not just clever, they had in their hearts understood the principle of yajna. The Asuras gave up a long time ago, but the Suras, what did they do? The principle of yajna blessed them with the vision of not bending their elbows and still eating. The father Prajapati asked them just to eat, not to eat for themselves, not to eat by themselves. What did they do? The Suras arranged themselves so they sat in front of one another, keeping a distance of one arm. They took the morsel of food and fed each other. And this is the principle of yajna. Kevalagho bhavati kevaladi. This is the dictum of the Shruti. Muchyante sarva kilvishaihi. And all our texts, Bhagavad Gita, Manusmriti, the Dharma Sutras, all our texts are full of references upholding the spirit of yajna. Yaja deva pujayam sangati karana daneshu is the dhatu patha. It means reverential offering to the Supreme in the spirit of selflessness. If you offer what you have to the other person, it will in turn offer you everything you wish for. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So the point I'm trying to convey here is the authors, because they have assimilated these concepts, it is immensely difficult, it is extraordinarily difficult to lay your hands on stories such as this, which can convey the essence of the tattva such as yajna, instead of going on for pages and pages and volumes. At the end of the day, the readers are still left clueless as to what is the actual tattva of yajna. I am very sure, having listened to this story, if you read this story in the course of this work, you will never not understand the spirit of yajna. So that is the beauty of this work. And they take very beautiful examples. Let me take another example. While trying to paint the picture of adhibhuta, adhyajna, adhyatma and so on, they take the example of the sun. And sun is the single point which binds together all these concepts. Just look at the way the authors are able to take such perfect examples in order to illustrate all these concepts. They say adhibhuta, at the level of adhibhuta, they call adhibhuta as the realm of facts. Now, how do we perceive the sun as an entity, as a factual entity? They say, we know that the sun is a star. It is at the center of the solar system and so on. These are a body of facts. And they do not stop at that. They will go on to say, at the level of adhidaiva, these body of facts transform into beliefs. We believe that the sun is a deity, is a deva, Pusha, Aditya, Surya, Savita, and so on. We call him by various names and call him Surya, Atma, Jagatastasthusascha, and so on. He is the one who breathes life into all animate and inanimate objects. That is the level of Adhidaiva. And at the level of Adhyatma, in order to look at the sun, we must have the vision. We must invoke the light of our own consciousness in order to understand, in order to invoke the consciousness of the sun. That is the level of experience. So Adhibhuta is fact, Adhidaiva is faith or belief, and Adhyatma is value or experience. Next comes the level of Adhiyajna, which is the metaphorical realm of rituals. So the ritual of Sandhya Vandana, for instance, bridges all these three epistemologies, Adhiyajna, Adhibhuta, and Adhyatma, beautifully by raising the Adhibhuta to the level of Adhiyajna and finally culminating in Adhyatma. That is the beauty of the ritual Sandhya Vandana represented in sun worship. So if you look at this, the same example of the sun is taken up so beautifully to elucidate all these concepts, and that is the beauty of this work. And the authors have not just stopped at that. In the course of the notes, they have also identified the cardinal principles of Abrahamic or Semitic religions. Even that is very important. It is not that we are just patting our backs and saying that we are the greatest religion or the way of life up there. They say, what are the features of Abrahamic religions? If you look at those concepts and if you contrast them with the concepts of Sanatana Dharma as enumerated in this work, readers will be able to understand for themselves where the difference lies. And in the course of the notes, they also talk about various ancillary aspects such as Panchayatana Puja, and such as the Ashtamurti Tattva, such as the Shanmatas, Navavidha Bhakti, Shodashopachara Puja, and so on. So when they say this is a primer of Sanatana Dharma, it is to the last decimal point as a primer of Sanatana Dharma at all these levels. And I would like to draw your attention to one very aspect that the authors have raised in this work. I told you Dr. Ganesh has spent many decades contemplating on these issues. And Hari also has a philosophical bent of mind. He has this explicatory ability to make concepts very easily understandable to all kinds of audiences. So you can see how both these aspects have come together in this point. While trying to depict the greatness of Sanatana Dharma, they say, foundational treatises of Sanatana Dharma include those on philosophy, epics, ritual, beliefs, mythology, and the sciences. No other culture or civilization has anything close. They do not stop at it, they elucidate. What do they say? For instance, the ancient Greeks had epics and philosophy. The other work that is released today, Arjun Bharadwaj's treatises, that deals with Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. They had epics and philosophy, but no scripture. We have the Vedas, which form the scriptures. We have the epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, and philosophy we have the Shad Darshanas. Other ancient civilizations had mythology. We had the Norse mythology, and every culture has its own mythology. But neither philosophy nor scriptures. The Abrahamic religions had scripture and ritual, but no epics or philosophy. Look at how each element goes on getting delinked from the tradition. It is only Sanatana Dharma that has withstood the ravages of time and has still preserved all these elements of tradition. Sanatana Dharma has all these elements, thus giving it a natural holism, that holistic nature that can appeal to anyone, unseen anywhere else. And that is the greatness of this work. And at the end of this work, the authors have also spoken about a few things that every Hindu or every Sanatana Dharma adherent should do. This looks at Kannadadalli ಒಂದು ಕಾಳಜಿ ಕಳಕಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, because the authors have that innate amount of love and respect for the tradition, and they want it to survive because it is facing threats from all sides in the times we live in. They want to do this. It would not be the situation even a few decades ago, but they have responded very well to the call of the times and have included a few things that every Hindu should do at the level of the individual, at the level of the family, and at the level of the society. None of these pronouncements is away from reality. Everything is rooted in reality. Everything is very simple, everything that every Indian can follow. Simple practices that can lead one to see the sacred in the profane. And these are not empty abstractions at all. So with these few points, I would like to invite all of you to please pick up this book and read it. And at the end of the day, you see this kernel of this work presents the core of Sanatana Dharma. There are 2 verses printed at the beginning, at the end of the book. I shall draw your attention to those verses and close my observations. At the beginning, the authors quote from a remarkable Acharya, Sureshwara Acharya. In his Brihadaranyaka Bhashyavartika, he says, Yaya yaya bhavet pumsam vyutpattif pratyagatmani sa saiva prakriyeha syat sadhvi sa cha anavasthita. It is a great pronouncement. What does it mean? It means that any manner, any road, any path that leads one to develop a knowledge or to develop an interest in the Brahman or the Absolute, the path that aids one to develop this knowledge, turn inwards, all those paths are legitimate. All those paths are correct. Sureshwaracharya or the Indian tradition does not restrict the sadhakas to say you can follow only this path. No. You can take that path which appeals to you the best and says, Sacha anavasthita, and that path is right only to that individual. This is also very important because a path that appeals to me might not appeal to anyone else, and in that process one might trample on the other's foot. Sureshwaracharya has even that point covered. And at the end of the day, it gives you a very simple prescription. It gives you a very simple ideal to follow. Great ideals are always simple but very difficult to follow. If there is a single representative of Sanatana Dharma, it would be Bhagavan Vedavyasa. And they have closed this book with his verse, Shlokardhena pravakshyami yaduktam granthakotibhi paropakarah punyaya papaya parapidanam. There cannot ever be a simpler distillation than this. Dr. R. Ganesh and Hari Ravi Kumar have collectively done a remarkable work in order to enlighten. And I would say this work serves that purpose remarkably well. Tattvam Pushan Napavranu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. Sarvebhyo Namaः.
I'd like to thank Vidwan B. and Shashi Kiran for his scholarly yet accessible introduction to the book. Now, I'd like to call upon Shatabdani Dr. R. Ganesh to introduce the next book, Indian Perspective of Truth and Beauty in Homer's Epics.
Om Tat Sat Yontah Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayat Yakhila Shakti Dharasvadhamna Anyam Shahta Charana Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Jagadranangane Yasya Smaranam Jayakaranam Parthasarataye Tasmai Shri Krishna Brahmane Namaha. Namaskaram. I have been here to introduce a very lovely and very illuminating book by my friend Arjun Bharadwaj, Indian Perspective of Truth and Beauty in Homer's Epics. And this is a very auspicious occasion, has been already mentioned by other friends. It's Bhagavad Gita Jayanti. And so this is something like a Gita Bodha, because we have a tradition of not less than 200 or 300 years that seeing anything Indian from the Western glasses. And here, perhaps for the first time, though not for the first time, one of the first things, that is, from the Indian glasses which are not colored, the whole world is seen. Because Western glasses are always colored, but Indian glass is not colored. And it will correct our vision also. Because we know, since we got exposed to the West, when the Westerners discovered India, discovered Sanskrit, discovered Sanatana Dharma, they started interpreting in their own way. And what they saw? Indian Napoleon in Samudragupta, and Shakespeare, Indian Shakespeare in Kalidasa, like that. But here, for the first time, a thorough research has been done, and I am a very stringent evaluator. Most of you here know, and many others may also be knowing it. So if I were to be a vice chancellor, I would have given, without any second thought, without batting my eyelids, deal it to this work. And before 6-7 years, Arjun discontinued his PhD from the European countries, from Switzerland, and he rushed to India. He first landed on the Himalayas. Very emphatic thing, very suggestive one. And there we had Char Dham Yatra. Here we have our Sahayatris, Nirupama, Rajendra, myself, Arjun, and another friend of mine, Gautam. All the 5 people, we went there. And throughout the journey, I was giving an uncalled for Bhagavad Gita Upadesha to Arjuna. No, you should not have discontinued PhD, you should have gone there. It's a very hard path. So all these things that went on for a week long. Bhagavad Gita is of 700 verses. This is 7 days ceremony I gave. But it went to his ears in a deaf manner. He took it as a stone deaf person. But here he has a much, much better doctoral thesis. That's what I feel. Even before writing this book, what all he had done, it would certainly deserve a doctorate. And doctorate, sorry for the august presence of our Vice Chancellor, having been in the universities and academies, and many other people also, I don't have much respect to the degrees which are being given and even the awards which are being given nowadays, most of the times. It's only very rarely worthy people will get worthy recognition. But in the work of Arjun, in the work of Shashi and many others, even in my friend's case, Hari Ravikumar's, these are all people who are born with doctorates, I feel. So like born with Kavacha and Kundana, like that. They profess knowledge. And here we have a testimony for that. Tathapi darshane swachhe nitye pyadikaver muner nodita kavita jata yavat jata na varnana. Though Valmiki by the mere vision itself was already a Kavi Rishi, Kavir Manishi, Paribhuhu, like that in the Vedas and even in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a person who has vision is a Kavi. But Nodita Kavita Loke Yavat Jata na Varnana, it has to manifest as one concrete example, and here is one such example. And in this work, as I earlier mentioned, from the clear Indian perspective, that is universal. It should be borne in mind that anything Indian is essentially universal. You need not say Indian and universal. They are Vadato Vyaghata. They are Dirukti. They are superfluous in nature. Punarukti dosha. Anything Indian in the real sense is universal. And so these universal principles have been adopted here. And this slavish nature of our people who used to imitate West, even today it's continuing. However, we have come out to an extent from those perspectives, and the situations are gradually bettering, improving. And anything from the West has to be taken as a sacred word, the word, and trying to interpret, or even in a defense, in a very apologetic manner, trying to defend, trying to answer in some other way. Even people like Arthur Beredel Keith and others who have written something on Indian themes like Indian drama or Indian and Vedic Brahmanas and such things, they try to be apologetic whenever they try to refute it. No, we need not. If they are wrong, they are explicitly wrong, we have to say it. If we are right, we have to be proud enough to declare that. Not that we are showing our supremacy, we are respecting truth. Modesty should not come in the way of respecting truth, and true vision will always appreciate that, and the very title itself says so, because here it is these two things, that is Indian perspective of truth and beauty. Truth is jnana and beauty is ananda. Truth is prajna and beauty is anubhava. So prajna and anubhava, they are linked together in the light of Vyasa, Valmiki, as the practitioners of that, as the people who have explored that and we have exposed that, and you are continuously giving expression to such beauty and truth. At the same time, the tools which have been used are from our Shastrakaras. Bhagavan Vyasa is also a great Shastrakara Valmiki, though not a Shastrakara in the specific stringent terms, he is also a Shastrakara, because what else is a Shastra apart from such a great work of value, Ramayana? However, Arjun has adopted the Purushartha concepts, the Gunatraya concept, and Rasadhvani, Auchitya, and Vakrata, these four cardinal principles of aesthetics, Indian aesthetics. Applying all these things, he has shown that how Homer stands on par with Vyasa and Valmiki. You just see the difference. Whenever Westerners try to write, mostly when they try to write anything about India, they are there to bless us. Even a vague glance of them, even a poker face of them is a sign of blessing on our part. That's how they are going to grace something, they are going to bless something on us, they are going to impart some great divine knowledge on our part. Like that, the tendency is always adhikarika, sense of supremacy. But here it is not so. Arjun is rightly enamored, enlightened, and enriched by Homer, and that true joy, full of knowledge, full of awareness, is being present here. Because true joy is inseparable of jnana, and that will emerge as a wonderful book like this Homer's epics. And here, like a true Indian, like a true Sanatani, has shown how Homer is also an Adikavi and a Rishikavi also. Because this is the way, this is the approach of Sanatana Dharma. Because our value systems, they try to recognize anything and everything if it has some value, if it has some worth. If there is beauty, we recognize it. If there is truth, we recognize it. So we are now second to none in appreciating those things, in recognizing that and in enjoying that. And in that sense, this would provide a better perspective to understand Homer to the Westerners as well. I know, fully aware that what I am speaking, so I have no hesitation in saying so. Not all claims are being made, because it is truth. And this truth is so beautiful as well. Sanatana Dharma always provides the right perspective or vision to explore, understand, and interpret and enjoy any culture and art, any civilization and its achievements. As it has been spoken earlier by my friend Shashikiran, Yaya Yaya Bhavet Punsam Yutpatti Pratyagatmani, the verse of Sureshwaracharya, the same spirit is guiding Arjun in this book also. And here, the details of the book, the structure of this book, it runs up to something like 440 pages, including the appendices, and none may believe it. It was written in a short span of 4 months. The preparation was for several years, but the preparation was not meant to write a book. The preparation was enjoying those things. Many times what happens, people who do research and all, preparation means it's a very painful suffering. But this is not. Ananda is also vyutpatti. Nachete priti vyutpatti bhinna rupe eva. That has happened in the case of Arjuna. And so within a short span of 4 months, all of our flabbergasted. How come it is possible? Our Adikavi Pampa, 6 ತಿಂಗಳೊಳು ಒಂದು 3 ತಿಂಗಳೊಳು ಒಂದು, like that he wrote. In 3 months he wrote Adipurana, and in 6 months he wrote Vikramarjuna Vijaya, it is said so. And Arjun wrote in 4 months this wonderful book. And several friends came to his help in preparing indices and other things. Whatever said and done, he single-handedly managed amidst so many other occupations, other preoccupations, attending programs, and then writing lyrics, and then gossiping with me. So many things they went on. It is a full process of joy, and he told at the fag end, having given the last installment to me just to go through it, he said, I don't know what to do from tomorrow onwards. All these days I was soaked and drenched in Homer. I don't know what to do. I'm feeling pained. This should be the real spirit of a person who is a truth seeker. And in that sense, truth and beauty are no different things. Now, coming to the structure of this book has several chapters. One main thing about it is, in the beginning itself, he writes a wonderful introduction or an epilogue or a prologue, and that he has written in Greek as well. The title, of course, prologos in Greek. Logos means speech. Logo, that sigma is used as a vibhakti pratyaya in Greek. So, prologos. prologue or preamble. And before that itself, our Professor Shantakumari has given a very insightful introduction. Very beautiful foreword has been provided. And she is an exceptionally talented person who has studied so many classics of the West in different languages. Though in translations, she has studied all the European classics and has understood their spirit in the light of universal values. And she is very well rooted in Sanatana Dharma and our literature, whether it is Kumarvyasa or Bhairappa or DVG or Masti, whatsoever. And all that ripe mind has written a wonderful foreword to it. And then Arjun gives a brief but very succinct introduction to the technical terms which are involved. Because we all know in our traditional way, Samnya and Paribhasha is the first chapter. What are the terms used and what is the exact meaning for that? And here also he has used the sequence of Karya Karana Bhava, like the causation theory. The whole of Rasa Siddhanta, everything within a span of 4 pages, simple 4 pages, he has exhausted complete Indian aesthetics. Rasa, Bhava, Vibhava, Anubhava, Uddipana Vibhava, Alambana Vibhava, Dhvani, and varieties of Dhvani and Vakrata, what not, everything has been given because he uses that. Incidentally, perhaps in English, a book of this volume and value, which throughout follows the concepts of Indian aesthetics, is not seen by me. There may be other books, I don't know, but I have not seen. And an inspiration to such work has been done by Professor K. Krishnamurthy, Dr. K. Krishnamurthy, but he did it for 1 or 2 verses like that, but not a whole work. And even in the works of K. Krishnamurthy, he has focused only on Rasadhvani, Auchitya and Vakrata and not on Purushartha Tattvas. When we use Purushartha Tattva for art criticism, it becomes much more stronger and much more robust and much more universal in nature, and Arjuna has used. And perhaps Shantakumari is the first person in Kannada to adopt the concept of Purushartha Tattva to analyze works of Bhairappa. Such things have influenced and inspired Arjuna. And then he gives a brief synopsis of Iliad and later of Odyssey, and then a long, detailed analysis of the epics, one after the other, the plot, the characters, and other things. And then Indian aesthetics need not borrow any major concept of criticism from anywhere, barring 1 or 2. For example, analysis of characters, a historical perspective of the plot and other things. They have been taken, subscribed from the West, and there is nothing wrong in that. Our tradition long ago said, Anuktam anyato grahyam apratishidham anumatam bhavati. Whatever which is not available here and whatever to which we have said no, that can always be subscribed from other cultures, and Arjuna has done that. And then here he, starting from the title of the work, names of the characters, the space and time of those epics, and the volume of the work, the size of the work, and the grey shade of various characters, and the element of superhuman in the epics, everything has been discussed in great detail, and everything goes with the original quotations. Original quotations means he has used an authentic English translation from Harvard Classics, because for the convenience of others, he could have cited from the original Greek itself. He would have doubled the volume of the book, and that's why he has reduced, he has limited himself from that, restrained from that. And then he discusses rasa, purushartha, for example, other things like marriage, siblinghood, friendship, such concepts in the epic. And then at the end, he gives one more perspective, the significance of travel in the epics. And then lastly, he has identified several alankaras from Indian perspective in those 2 epics. Arthalankaras, we all know from the Agni Purana that Arthalankara Rahita Vidhaveva Saraswati. Saraswati will be widowed if a poet is not adept in employment of alankaras. Alankaras are what? Saundaryam alankaraha, Vukti Visheshaha. So beauty, the beautification, enhancement of beauty that occurs because of the alankaras, and Arjuna has identified not less than 30 alankaras, natural alankaras, sahaja alankaras, upama, rupaka, deepaka, drishtanta, vyatireka, so many such alankaras he has used. And then this is about the structure of the work. And coming to the content of it, he shows how Homer is close to Vyasa and Valmiki. At every instance, he has drawn parallels from Vyasa and Valmiki. Not to denigrate Homer, but to enhance Homer's beauty and also make us realize how universal our poets too are. Because Homer, Vyasa and Valmiki, they never knew each other. In spite of that, though they existed in different spaces and different times from different cultures, they had so much of correlation, so much of thought. It is very easy to jump to conclusions and say Valmiki borrowed from Homer because of the elopement of Helen. We know that Sita too got abducted, and so Homer is the original source and Valmiki is the person who stole from Homer, or vice versa. But this is very stupid and superficial to say. In which culture we don't see abduction, elopement? Everywhere see. Artha Kama, they are universal in nature. To become greedy, to become generous, to become avarice, do we need any other inspiration or any other imitation? We are original in that Arishat Vargas. So, it is how foolish and how arrogant is the Western perspective to say that our people are imitating them. And it's nonsense to say the least. So this human nature, universal human nature, which is eternally present, which is latent in one and all, that has been exploited to the best of its extent. And there, Homer too stands for dharma. That is very important. And the cover page itself is a beautiful indication. Here you see, in the other sites also we have two, three paintings, but this cover page itself is very suggestive. Here we have one scene from the Iliad epic, and from there the next one is Odyssey, and here we have from Ramayana and Mahabharata. All these paintings are done with the style, adopting the style of later Renaissance period. Western Renaissance period's style has been adopted throughout. These two paintings are of Ravi Varma, and these two from European artists. And here we have Athena. Athena, embodiment of wisdom and valor. Brahma Kshatra Sama Yoga. The wisdom and valor of Athena is suggested by her very birth itself. She emerged from the head of Zeus, the greatest god of the Greek people. And how she guides, whether it is Hector or whether it is Achilles or Odysseus or whosoever, she guides. She is always for the wise and the valorous, the pious and the heroic. And here also we have Rama and Krishna. Rama in Shivadhanur Bhanga and Krishna in the Sandhana. And this is, Shishupala Vadha. So all these four paintings have adopted the same style. But here in the work of Ravi Varma, the theme is Indian and the style, that is form, is Western. Arjun has taken the content Indian and the form Western. The Western form of Homer's epics are analyzed with the tools of, by the tools of the Indian. This is a very complementing thing. And so the concept of dharma as embodied in the epics of Homer are juxtaposed with those of our epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Every character is brought a beautiful parallel, sometimes to compare and sometimes to contradict. And at the end he says how they are emerging from the same spirit of Purusharthas. I don't want to explain further so as to mar your curiosity in going through the book, but this much I can say. This concept of Purushartha is a master key which can open any culture and any civilization. At the same time, the concept of Rasadhvani, Auchitya and Vakrata, both are 4 in number. They are also 4, the cardinal principles of life and the cardinal principles of art. When you use this key, any lock will be opened. And there is no fear of burglars. Because this key can be opened only by a person of experience. And experience cannot be copied. So no lock can be copied, no key can be copied. I'm extremely happy that Arjun has carried on the legacy of such masters like our K. Krishnamurti and others who have shown a way of to adopt Indian aesthetics and Indian value systems to study any other literature, any other art form. And I think it's a very great inviting value addition to the study of these epics, because so many people have already done such things, adopting Indian aesthetics of theatre and other things to Shakespeare work like that. But I have seen them, they are not at all satisfactory, because they use in a very, very formal way, like arranging the bricks and building a wall. If you just kick, if you just give a very strong hit, if you hit it, it will collapse, because they are made of bricks. They don't have proper bonding. But when you see such things, they are like growing a tree. Even if you chop off the branch, it will sprout out and it will further grow. Like that, as it is said by D.V. Gundappa, ಪುಸ್ತಕದಿ ದೊರೆತರಿವು ಮಸ್ತಕದಿ ತಳೆದ ಮಣಿ, ಚಿತ್ತದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆದರಿವು ತರುತಳೆದ ಪುಷ್ಪ. So, the long years of Arjun's training in Sanatana Dharma without tears. Since his childhood, he is brought up in such an ambience, such an atmosphere, his grandparents, his parents, and the whole surroundings. He, by virtue of the whole surroundings and by his own innate calling, he developed that taste, developed that finesse for Sanatana Dharma, art, aesthetics, and others. And at the same time, unfailing objectivity constantly reigns supreme in these works. And that's why at no place he has become partial. At no times he has taken any wrong way to denigrate or just to demean the other culture or other person. So all these valuable things, they have made up this book. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Shatabdani Dr. R. Ganesh for his insightful introduction. He just mentioned that Purusharthas and the Rasadhwani Auchitya Vakrata combo can be the master key. So he is our master key when it comes to understanding anything about Indian culture. So now I'd like to call Sri Kashyap Nayak to introduce the volume 6 of the Art Gallery of Memories, Some Pillars of Society.
Om Tat Sat, a very good morning to one and all. I have the pleasure today of introducing one of the volumes of the magnum opus of D.V. Gundappa. It is titled as Halavaru Sarvajanikaru in Kannada. And I congratulate the general editor of the book, Sri Hari Ravi Kumar, the editors, Paresh Nadig, Vaishnavi, translators, Arjun and various others. Pratap Simha is also here. Many of them who have ably translated this book into English. The language used here, although English, is meant for an Indian reader, and it is only for those who may not understand Kannada, although very, very simply, I mean, in a very simple language written by DVG. For those who are not from Kannada or who can't read Kannada, for their benefit, the Gnapaka Chitrashale series have been translated to English. And I must say that this volume has also come out really well. In this particular volume of DVG, this is titled as Some Pillars of Society in English. Although in Kannada it says Halavaru Sarvajanikaru, the translation is not to say some persons of general public. It very clearly denotes some pillars of the society, because that is the dhvani in the entire book. So the translators and editors have understood the actual... in fact, it was suggested by Dr. S. R. Ramaswamy, and therefore this title has come as Some Pillars of the Society. And if one reads into the pen portraits of various personalities described in this book, you would actually know how they have strengthened the society at that relevant point of time. And not only did they truly contribute to the society at that point of time, but by their very life, the way in which D.V. Gundappa has captured in this book, it has continued to refine our mind as well even to this day. So if one would read this particular book, I can definitely say that our minds would be much more matured, we would be much more refined, and this would culturally enrich us as well. this would give us some sort of a chitta shuddhi. That is the sum total effect of reading this book. So today we have the 3 books. If the essential Sanatana Dharma, if I can say that it gives us a sense of truth, the Sat, this book gives us the Chittana, it gives us the Chitta Shuddhi. And Homer's book as well as the calendar is giving us the Ananda through epics. So in sum total, the book release is a short treatise on the Satchit Ananda. Now in this book, DVG has written the pen portraits of several well-known characters of that time, well-known personalities, P.S. Shivaswami Iyer, V.S. Shrinivasa Shastri, Venkatrama Shastri, Rajaji, and it goes on about Puttanna Chetty, who built this town hall, who was also the councillor of Bangalore. He was a member of the Legislative Assembly, a very prominent political figure. We also have about the public figures of various other cities apart from Bangalore, like Shankar Narayan Rao. Then we have Balkrishna Rao, Vasudev Rao. Then we have the person who worked here, Abbas Khan Sahib, who worked under Mirza Ismail. Then we have Magdi Karnika Krishnamurti. And then he has also written here about a few public organizations like the Ranade Society, Ranade Company, Mitra Sangha, then the Bhajan organization that went on. Now, many of these organizations were very short-lived. None of the organizations written here even went up to live for perhaps more than a decade. But the effect it had was very, very deep, I must say. And it evolved a certain lot of people. Now, when we look at several episodes written in Gnapaka Chitrashale, especially this particular volume, most of them, whomever I just spoke about, are very, very prominent people. You would find writings about them elsewhere also. There have been biographies written about them. There have been writings on their achievement written everywhere else. But DVG very clearly picks out the human side of these people and what made them successful and what was the driving force behind them. These are the ones which DVG has clearly encapsulated in this book. For example, P.S. Shrinivasa Shastri and later Venkatram Shastri both went on to become the Advocate General of the Madras High Court, Madras Province. They were very well-known public figures, they were well-known lawyers, and in fact P.S. Shivaswami Iyer also went on to become a governor, and their success in the public field was quite phenomenal. But if you look at their love for literature, the manner in which they had a lovely banter even amongst their own people, all those people regularly frequented Lal Bagh. In fact, in the very first episode of P.S. Shivaswami Iyer, it starts with a lovely banter in Lal Bagh, how they all met, how Shivaswami Iyer was very, very particular about the dressing sense. In fact, it is in his fear that today also I am wearing kache panche. He was very particular. One day he saw DVG wearing a normal dhoti. He looked from top to bottom some 3-4 times and he said, "Why are you not wearing kache?" So I said, "I'm speaking about him. His Atma should be somewhere here, so let me not." Anyway, so Shivaswami Iyer, the human side of Shivaswami Iyer has been extremely painted well in the entire scenario. Then we also have Shrinivasa Shastri, and we all know about Right Honorable Shrinivasa Shastri and his achievements. But here there are a few very, very heartening episodes. Shrinivasa Shastri, it is narrated here, I'll just say 1 or 2 episodes, not more. Shrinivasa Shastri was, because of his health, he was advised to come and settle in Bangalore for a while, owing to the better weather conditions and less pollution. That time Bangalore was not so polluted. And they said, you please settle here in Bangalore. DVG was asked by Shrinivasa Shastri to find a house. So DVG searched for a few houses and pointed out for 4 or 5 houses in and around Lal Bagh, where many of his friends also used to live, and he could go. Lal Bagh was at a walkable distance. So ultimately, shortlisted a few houses. Then when he spoke to Shrinivasa Shastri and they said there are a few houses that I've shortlisted, this is the pros of this house, this is the cons of this house, so on and so forth. Then he also spoke about one particular house. He said, this particular house is very good, but I must say that this comes with certain bad things also. What is it? He said the owner of this particular house is in debt. The property is also already being taken or being mortgaged to bank, and bank is initiating proceedings. Now it has been so held that out of the rental income that they would receive, half of it would go to the bank for the mortgage and half of it would go to the owner. The owner is a Vaidika Brahmana, plus there were some deaths and few other bad omens that have happened in the house. So many people don't even want to come to this particular house. So that is the situation of this particular. And everybody are bargaining for a lower rent, and this is the rent fixed at so and so per month. If we want, we can even bargain. They will be agreeing to give, because anyway, because of the bad omen and other things, people are not giving. After Shrinivasa Shastri heard all of this, he said, well, I think we must go to that particular house. Then he would reason it further. He would say that, see, the house is anyway having bad omen. I am going there with my ill health. If in case I go to that particular house and if something happens to me and if I die, the bad omen remains. There is no change in it. But if in case I get better, then the bad omen would have been vanished away, because my health itself is a testimony to the fact. Then regarding the rental bargaining, he said, please don't bargain on the rental. You yourself is saying that whatever rents we agree on, only 50% of it is going to the owner and is a Vaidika Brahmana. You are saying he is already poor. Brahmins were always poor. In the tradition, in the history, even now we see generally. So they said, Bada Brahmana, Vaidika Brahmana, let us not try to bargain, because only he is getting 50%. If we bargain even 10 rupees less, he is getting 5 rupees less. So let us not bargain, let us go, and I think we should fix that particular house.
Even accommodate them in the outhouse.
And he also said that let them not live elsewhere. If there is an outhouse in that particular house, let them come and let them stay with us as well. That was also the situation with Shivaswami Iyer. He did not have any children, but along with Shivaswami Iyer, he had one car driver, his family. He had a helper, his family. That entire family of his assistants along with the driver had to move out with Shivaswami Iyer to whichever place he went. So he said, wherever I go and enjoy, these people should also enjoy with me. And he also used to ensure that the staff of Shivaswami Iyer, their children are also being taught well. So when they came and stayed here in Basavangudi, he ensured that a Sanskrit teacher comes and teaches that small little girl who is the daughter of this thing and teaches them properly. And the manner of their teaching, whether the syllable is correct, how is she learning, all of this Shivaswami Iyer himself would look into it and correct it. So this is how Shivaswami Iyer used to be. Then we have Venkatrama Shastri, who was a disciple of Shivaswami Iyer. Venkatrama Shastri was a very famous lawyer, and all these people were very prominent lawyers. Even now, if you go to the Madras High Court, there is a beautiful museum now made in the Madras High Court. There is a senior counsel called N.L. Raja, who has also made an antique tour of Madras High Court. Although he is a practicing advocate, he takes immense pride in showcasing the Madras High Court, the various personalities who lived there. Their portraits are hung in the library. It's a treat to watch. Anyway, there, these prominent figures' portraits are even to this day put, and they are worshipped. Shivaswami Iyer and Venkatrama Shastri, etc. Now, Venkatrama Shastri, he used to regularly visit Bangalore. All of these people who are all stalwarts even in Madras. The previous volumes of Gnapaka Chitra Shale, we saw stalwarts of the Mysore Raja who were very, very close to DVG. And in this we see stalwarts of the Madras presidency who were extremely close to DVG. In fact, when Shrinivasa Shastri was asked to come to Bangalore, he said, I'll come on one condition, that most of the time I should be spending with DVG. So, starting from preparing his morning medicine, saying that this particular medicine, this amount of honey should be added, this how it should be given to Shrinivasa Shastri, that was the job of DVG. And to accompany Shrinivasa Shastri in the morning walks in Lal Bagh, and to ensure his guests are also taken care, and again come back in the afternoon at around 3 or 4 o'clock for a light-hearted discussion with Shrinivasa Shastri and his wife. All of these are very beautifully written and narrated. Now, this book is not just a set of anecdotes, but DVG carefully chooses the anecdote which would refine and even culture our mind. There are some anecdotes which are very humorous. There are some anecdotes which are curious. But he just doesn't take some curious anecdote. Every one of us, if we sit and talk for a few things, we all have some anecdotes to say. But DVG not only speaks about the anecdotes of these persons, and in the starting itself he would say, this particular person according to me stands out for these three characters like integrity, honesty, courage. This person stands for humility, for love for art. He was a very good connoisseur. So he has the distilled essence of each person's character and personality has also been very beautifully written by DVG. And in Venkatrama Shastri there are also a few humorous episodes. He also says that his friends used to poke fun at Venkatram Shastri, saying that you argued so beautifully today. The judgment was in your favor, but I don't know about the law you argued. Look at your personality, the tall stature, your protruding teeth, and that fine play of English language, the chaste language. Who would not fall prey to all these things? Who cares about your law points? Those time it was a joke. Then we also have about Rajaji, and about Rajaji we all know about the political achievements of Rajaji and how much of contribution he has given to the Madras presidency as well as to India. He was also the Home Minister of India under Nehru. Then he had to split from the party and come. But he has not spoken about the political aspect of Rajaji. But he has only said some of the chief achievements of Rajaji when he was ruling the Madras presidency and the manner in which he used to. He says Rajaji was so courageous, and he said it is important that for a man, if he has decided that this is the right thing to do, he should have courage and he should see to it that that particular thing is done. And the personification of that courage was Rajaji. And speaking about Rajaji, he also says Rajaji was a very close friend of Navratna Ramrao. We all know the great scholar of Bangalore, Navratna Rajaram, and his father was Navratna Ramrao, and grandfather was Navratna Ramrao. Rajaji was a close friend of Navratna Ramrao. When he was touring somewhere in Kerala, he got a telegram that Navratna Ramrao passed away. He immediately took a car and came to Bangalore, but by the time he came, the cremation was completed. He stayed that night, and next day he requested his brother to take him to the cremation ground. He took him to the cremation ground. The cremation was already done, but he still took he did pradakshina for the place where he was cremated and offered his prayers to him. And then he came back. Then he realized that his daughter was not yet married. He understood the entire family situation and went back. And later, the entire expense of his daughter's marriage and ensuring that the marriage of the daughter was organized was taken by Rajaji. And he also purchased clothes for Shubha Svikara and gave it to them, saying that after the 14th day, whenever this has to be given to them. So everything he did, and he went. And among all these characters, we regularly see their, especially for Shivaswami Iyer or Shrinivasa Shastri, we see their almost bhakti for Ramayana, how much they revered Ramayana. And for any context, Shrinivasa Shastri would quote a particular phrase of Ramayana. He would call his wife and say, this is in Sanskrit, you please tell me what is in Kamba Ramayana, let us see what is in this poet's Ramayana, that poet's Ramayana. They would compare it with various other texts of Ramayana and see. And later speaking about Puttanna Chetty, he says how much of a great public figure he was, and his adeptness at handling the regular business transactions of the government, and how was he looking at meritorious people in the government. And while speaking about the episode of Puttanna Chetty, he also speaks a bit about Sir M. Vishwesvaraya. And DVG was a very harsh critic of government. He was a journalist. He also used to criticize the government. Then Vishwesvaraya says that you are a very harsh critic. You criticize every action of the government. He says, that's my job. I'm a journalist. He says, all that is fine, but you will come to know the true aspects of governance only when you work. Don't just criticize, you come and work. And then he puts him in work under Puttanna Chetty, and he works under Puttanna Chetty, and he says, I learnt a great deal of administration when I worked under Puttanna Chetty for this matter. And various episodes of Putana Chetty to say how he was appointing. Then a recommendation letter comes from for a particular person who was to be appointed as a judge. Then Putana Chetty questions him saying, how much of income tax do you pay? Very hesitatingly he says that, sir, I don't pay much of income tax. That means to show that he was not earning that kind of income. Then he says, then this is the right kind of job for you. Then you please take this job and you do it. And then he says that please don't be under the impression that he was not a scholar. The scholarly bent of mind of all these people are also written. In fact, while speaking about Venkatrama Shastri or Shrinivasa Shastri, they say people in those days, scholars, whenever they spoke, they wanted to ensure that every word that came out of their mouth had the correct meaning, the syllables were correct, and even if they had even an iota of doubt on the usage, they would not use that particular word. In fact, when Venkatrama Shastri wanted to intern under Shivaswami Iyer, he asked for a particular meaning. He said, what is this meaning? He said, in the dictionary it says so. Oh, you refer to dictionary, then you are the right person. Okay, come as a junior to me. And Venkatrama Shastri used to always carry dictionary everywhere. Someday when somebody was packing, they did not pack his dictionary in the luggage. As soon as he came from Madras to Bangalore, he did not go to his place of residence. He directly went to DVG and he said, just give me one dictionary fast, I need to pack it. I'll return the dictionary later to you because without dictionary, I can't be here. So he took the dictionary and he kept it. And that entire group of people associated along with them also had the scholarly bent of mind. Nowadays, most of the lecture series that you are hearing in Gokhale Institute or Mythic Society or World Culture used to be a banter session in Lal Bagh. That was the kind of scholars who generally met, and this was the kind of discussion, and some of that have also been very beautifully narrated here. Later he has spoken about the various bhajan organizations, the amount of Bhagavad Bhakti one would have. The Swamiji once while doing the bhajan almost became the Daiva Vesha, and he in that Avesha he lost consciousness. But the bhajan continued the same way as though nothing had happened. He regained consciousness and came back and joined for the bhajan. And he says at that point of time, the problem with somebody having a traditional belief or somebody subscribing to a traditional belief, somebody showcasing their belief on their by way of their tilaka or their dressing sense was never a matter of talk at all at any point of time. And the amount of merit one would had to look for others also. For example, when even he speaks about some of the public figures, including Putana Chetty, he says the amount of importance they gave to scholarship, the amount of importance they gave to the people who guide them, and even if there was any minor issue in any of the small talk, they would refer to the dictionary, they would speak, they would try to understand the meaning in it, and there are a series of discussions that have gone on, letters being exchanged, so on and so forth. So this has a very beautiful narration of the human element, the emotional element of these public personalities. And I can easily say that if one would have to say how would we culture our mind, it is by reading such people, understanding how they lived, understanding how they performed their duties. And in fact, in Venkatrama Shastri's episode, he comes to argue a particular case in Shivamogga. The matter, he waits for the whole day in court, the matter doesn't reach. The next day he is supposed to, the matter is supposed to reach. Next day the matter flows on. But he couldn't continue to be here for that particular day's hearing and he has to rush back to Madras. Then somebody asked him, sir, the matter is important, why are you rushing back to Madras? He said, no, I am the chairperson of the examination committee. The examination committee is supposed to meet tomorrow. Is there any important thing? No, it's a general regular committee meeting, but how can I miss? What will they feel? That for the sake of money, Venkatrama Shastri did not attend this particular meeting, despite being made as a chairman. No, I cannot, that is more important, that I have to attend that particular meeting and I should leave. Then who should continue with the hearing for tomorrow? He said, the local lawyer here who has briefed me, he will argue. Then he goes to him, and Venkatrama Shastri's fees at that point of time was quite huge. He used to charge 1,500 rupees per appearance, which was a princely sum at that point of time. For an advocate of his stature, he could have charged that. he goes to that particular advocate and pays his fees, saying that I am not appearing. So therefore, whatever the client has paid me, I am paying it to you. Don't take much fees from the client. You argue this particular matter tomorrow. He just takes the money only for the travel charges from Madras to Bangalore and back to Madras, and he goes back. So this is the kind of honesty that these people had, and it is showcased. Such instances are plenty. I am not even narrating for the sake of time. Otherwise, this can go on for a very long time. These are, as I said, not just anecdotes, but almost it shows us the manner and the path in which we would have to live our life. If we look at the amount of charity that these people have done, not only by way of money, but by their action, but by their presence, and being there for somebody else at the relevant point of time. And if we question ourselves, how much of such episodes are there in our life which we will be able to speak of ourselves, to us on, we did not have to speak about others. We are not even a fraction near to any of these people. And this has ably been taken, extracted from their particular life and presented to us in the pen portraits of Gnapaka Chitrashale. Like all other series, this series also should be received very well by the readers. And I only request that everyone buys this book, because this is not a book that you read it once and you keep it. It is a book that you would have to read, revisit. It is not only enjoyable to read, but it would, rereading of it and understanding it would, culture our mind in a lot more way. So with that, I conclude my speech, and I thank you all for the hearing. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sri Kashyap Nayak for providing us with a trailer of the book, and the interested people can go through the actual book to gain more insights about all the eminent pillars of the society. I'd like to have a slight interruption since we have a few of our guests who were not present before. They have come now. So we want to give our complimentary copies to some of our guests who are here. So I'd like to ask Shatavdani Ganesh to give our guests some of the complimentary copies as a token of our gratitude. So the first copy would go to Dr. Shobha Shashikumar. We would like to call upon Sri Wallish. I'd like to call upon Dr. Ramakrishna Pejataya. I'd like to call Sri Rajneesh from Gayatri Prints. So our tradition is well known for sutras and expanding upon it by writing bhashyas. So providing introductions to these books is like doing it in the reverse fashion. So the books are like the bhashyas, and the introducers have to compress it in the given amount of time to make it like a sutra, so that the people would get the gist of it and then go and read back the original texts. So I'd like to thank all the speakers who have introduced the books. Now, Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi had excused himself, and he said he would like to speak towards the end. So now it's our time to hear from him. Sir, please address the gathering.
सर्वेभ्यो नमो नमः. Today is Vaikuntha Ekadashi, so let me begin with this beautiful shloka printed on this calendar, this page of calendar. Shesha Shai is praised here. Jrumbha Vijrumbhita Drishaha Prathama Prabuddha Lakshmi Karamburuha Lalana Lalasasya Gatrapa Vritti Bhara Kharvita Shesham Avyahatam Murajitaha Kritaka Prasuptam. So today yet God is sleeping and now he is getting awakened. So beautiful picture, and then the Shilpa and the Shloka Shilpa. So I'm enjoying this. With this, so I'm going to end the session, speech session. In this beautiful Prekshagraha, we have many Prekshavantas. And my Preksha Bandhus have produced wonderful works that are ahutis that are offered in this Preksha Yajna. So I'm happy to be part of this Preksha Yajna. It is very difficult to create. It is very easy to enjoy. Today we are enjoying, and I could experience the pain of creation, but labor of creation. At the same time, all of them are enjoying it. We cannot see any pain in their faces. I really appreciate the work done by my Preksha Bandhus, because I know the pain of coordination, samayojana, and getting, yes. So therefore, first appreciation goes to him. Okay. And he is not speaking. He is making others to speak. This is a really wonderful job that is being made by Preksha. In today's context, we need such efforts. Of course, the inspiration by Sri Shatavadhani Ganeshji is extremely, great. So his inspiration is the source of all, strength of this entire enterprise that my friends are undertaking. And today we listened to them. Actually, I'm here to listen to them, not to speak anymore. And Shashikiran spoke on Sanatana Dharma so beautifully, and no single word we can keep aside. That's the crisp of his speech, and it introduced the script of this work. The essential Sanatana Dharma is given to me in Pune when Sri Ganeshji came to a meeting, and we had, we spent 2 days' time in one place. Of course, thinking about Sanatana Dharma itself, knowledge base of Sanatana Dharma itself. And I have gone through this book. This is one flight reading, one flight reading. I call it a one flight reading. What happens, normally when we, for me at least, when I travel a lot and I don't get time to read at home or in my daily routine, but only I get time when during my travel. When I sit in life, nobody is there, no phones. and there no disturbance. So, therefore, and the books in this size especially, the size also matters. You know, if you write in detail, and then those are the books which are, you know, alankarana for my shelf, you know. But these are handy books, alankarana for hand. You know, we can take it. We can really take in hand and you know, read and enjoy it. I have seen and I have read many works on Sanatana Dharma. Of course, many works by D.V. Gundappa. And we can see a great list at the end in the annexure, which basically suggests us that there are many good readings. And again, one more effort on the same topic it makes very difficult. You know, it's not so easy job, because again you are writing the same, on the same topic you are writing, but you are addressing different audience. That's very important. So today, what I saw is the essential Sanatana Dharma is focusing on a particular audience, the today's audience, the young audience. They have also reviewed this. This is tested book. So, what I like the most is, Upadayata of any Shastra or any work lies on the principle of action. If you don't take action, it is waste. In our Mimamsa Shastra, it is said that the Vakya becomes Pramana only when it says some do's and don'ts. Do's do this, then it becomes Upadaya, Pramana. Basically, in this work, I was looking at the work, so beautifully written, and a lot of ideas and contextualized knowledge. But the most attractive part of this, Upadayata, is this. At the end, few things every Hindu should do. 10 principles are given. Vidhi. And then this becomes Upadaya. Because what is the take-home message? This is the message. Only 2-3 pages. Okay? After reading what I should do, that is very important. If I don't get what I should do, then I think it is mere knowledge. So, acharahinam napunanti vedaha. This may be Veda, but we should bring the essence into action. Today, the practicing Hindus are spread across the globe, and you cannot expect that somebody who is in Kaveri Tira is practicing Hindutva. No, it is not possible. So always our mind goes that only the Hindus who are living in Kaveri Tira and they are practicing so many things. It is not possible. People are staying in America and their context is totally different. Their living conditions are different. Then you should prescribe those things which are practicable for them. So in that aspect, what is at the level of the individual, 10 things to do. So beautifully, I also noted, normally Stotra Patha and all these are prescribed, but cultivate interest in one of the classical arts of India. This is really beautiful, and we should really cultivate this in our individual level. And be able to understand, speak, read, write, think in at least one of the Indian languages. That is also very important. If we go away from Indian languages, then definitely we are going away from our Sanatana Dharma thinking. So this is also very important. Today English is also Indian language. Don't worry. And this another thing is very important. Become familiar with the history of India and deliberate upon contributions of great men and women of India. And in second part, what a family should do, a Hindu family should do. There, everything is there. Every year, visit a historical site and temple. This is very important. Normally, we keep on going Tirumala, Tirupati, Devasthanam for darshana and, you know, praying, all that we do. But, you know, we should really take a different outlook. You know, year end came and we go for vacation. So these vacations, normally we go to different resorts and, you know, spend our time or waste our time. So bhoga. But this suggestion, every year visit a historic site and temple, your Kuladevata temple and Gramadevata temple in your native town. This suggestion, I think if the Hindu family start doing it, then I don't think Sanatana Hindu Dharma will collapse. And the society level also, lots of suggestions are given. And as Shashi Kiran suggested, you know, we should feed others. We should feed others. That's also very important. So this is the really essential Sanatana Dharma. I don't go into the details because my friends have introduced Sanatana Dharma. I look at Sanatana Dharma with simple one line: Satyam Shivam Sundaram. He is a real Hindu who believes or who has a clear understanding of Satya, Shiva, Sundara. This is the basic principle. Who is Sanatana Dharma? Who is the real practitioner of Sanatana Dharma? The person who believes in these three principles. Person who can see Satya, Shiva and Sundara at one place. So seeing them separately is not suggested. So today we can see this whole event encapsulates the Satya, Shiva and Sundara. ನಾನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಚಿತ್ರಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು ಸಣ್ಣನಿರುವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗ್ರಂಥಗಳನ್ನು ಓದಿ ಮುಗಿಸಿದೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಸುಂದರ ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಪಾಕಗೊಳಿಸುವಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ವತೆಗೆ ತಂದು ಹಚ್ಚುವಂಥ ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಈ ಗ್ರಂಥದ ಮೂಲಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ಕನ್ನಡದ ಬರಹಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಉತ್ಕೃಷ್ಟವಾದ ಅಂದರೆ ಉತ್ಕೃಷ್ಟ ಚಿಂತನೆಯ ಬರಹಗಳು ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವ್ರ ಬರಹಗಳು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸತ್ಯದ ಕಾಣಿಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಹತ್ವದ್ದೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅದನ್ನು ಸುಂದರವಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಶಿವವನ್ನು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮಂಗಲವನ್ನು ಕಾಣತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಥರದ ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನೇಕ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ, ಅದು ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರು ಈ ಗ್ರಂಥ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಚಿತ್ರಶಾಲೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಳೋದುಂಟು, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೋ ಮೋರ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಡ್ರೈ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮೂಲಕ ಒಂದು ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನು ನೋಡುವ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಬೇರೆ, ಆದರೆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಮೂಲಕ ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನು ನೋಡೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಬೇರೆ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರು ಅಂಥ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಯ ಮೂಲಕ, ಕಥೆಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನು ನೋಡುವಂಥ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯನ್ನು ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಭಾರತೀಯ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ. ಇದು ವೇದವ್ಯಾಸರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಇದನ್ನೇ, ವೇದವ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಇದನ್ನೇ, ರಾಮಾಯಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಇದನ್ನೇ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ನಾವು ಒಂದು ವಿದೇಶದ ಪ್ರಭಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳಗಾಗಿ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯ ಮೋಹಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳಗಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿವಿ. ನಾವು ಆ ಮೋಹದಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರಲೇಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟೋರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವೋ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಲಿನ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ, ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ಭಾರತೀಯತೆ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ನನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗತವಾದ ಅನುಭವ. ಇದು ಯಾಕೆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಗಳು ಮಹತ್ವದ್ದು ಅಂದರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಅಂಶ. ಸತ್ಯದ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ಅನುಭವ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಸತ್ಯ ಮರ್ತೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ನಾವು ಸತ್ಯವನ್ನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ? ಅದರ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಜ್ಞಾಪಿಸ್ಕೋತೇವೆ ಅದನ್ನು. ಈ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಚಿತ್ರಶಾಲೆ, ಆ ಚಿತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಆಗಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು ಯಾಕೆ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಸುಂದರವಾಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ, ಬರೀ ಸತ್ಯ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಈ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಚಿತ್ರಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಗೆ ತರೋ ಮೂಲಕ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ವೈಡರ್ ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಇದು ಮೊದಲೇ ಸಾಲಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನನಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯಿತು. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ that is given by Acharya Ganesh ji, that the wonderful pieces of our Kannada literature should be brought to the wider audience through English. ಒಂದು ಭಯ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಒಂದು ಭಾಷೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನೋಡಿ, ನಾನು ಅಗ್ರಹಾರದ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಮುಳುಬಾಗಿಲಿನ ಅಗ್ರಹಾರವನ್ನು ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರು ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ಅಗ್ರಹಾರಗಳ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಗ್ರಹಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಅದು ಸಮಾನವಾದದ್ದು. ಅದು ಉತ್ತರ ಭಾರತದ ಅಗ್ರಹಾರಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ, ಉತ್ತರ ಭಾರತ ಅಗ್ರಹಾರಗಳೂ ಇವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಭಾಷೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಹತ್ತಿರ ತರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರು ಅದನ್ನು ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಬಳಸಿದ ಶಬ್ದಗಳು, ಕನ್ನಡದ ಕಾಕು ವಾಕ್ಯಗಳು, ಅದರ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಅಗ್ರಹಾರದ ದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ತರೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅದರ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಹಾಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಇಳಿಸೋದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಆದರೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಗಳು ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ತೋಟದ ಬಾವಿಯಾಗಿ ಉಳಿದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವುಗಳು ಹರಿತಾ ಇದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅಮೇರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮತ್ತು ಅನೇಕ ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ಉಪಾಸಕರಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ತಲುಪಿಸುವಂಥ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಅನುಭವತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಈ ಕೃತಿಯ ಮೂಲಕ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಬಹಳ ನನಗೆ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಿತ್ರ ಅರ್ಜುನ, ಶಿಷ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವ ಧೃಷ್ಟತೆಯನ್ನು ನಾನು ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗಲೇ ಅವರು ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ಅವರ ಶಿಷ್ಯತ್ವ ನಮಗೆ ಭಾರ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಗುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಮೊದಲೇ ದಿವಸ ಅರ್ಜುನ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ಅರ್ಜುನ್ ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀರಿ? ನಾನು ಹೀಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ MAದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರವೇಶವನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಕೂತಿದ್ದು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆ ನನಗೆ ಆ ಘಟನೆ. ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. ಆಗಲೇ ಒಂದು ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಬರೆದು ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರು, ಇದು ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಸರ್ ನಂದು ಅಂತ. ಒಂದು ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಬರೆದು ಎಂಟ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಸರಿ, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮ MA ಪ್ರವೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಆದರೂ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಣಿನಿ ಬಂದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ವ್ಯಾಕರಣದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡೇ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಪಾಣಿನೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ನೀವು ನೆಟ್ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನೀವು ಪಾಣಿನಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡದೆ ಹೋದರೆ, ನನ್ನ ನೆಟ್ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ನಾನು. ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, ನನ್ನ ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯತೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಗಳು ನಾನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ನಾನು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಕುಲಪತಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಅನೇಕ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ, ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಬೌಂಡ್ರೀಸ್. ಅಥವಾ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಗಳೇ ಹೊರಗಿವೆ, ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಒಳಗೆ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಗಳಿಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋ ಯೋಚನೆಗಳು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಹ್ಯೂಮರ್ನ ಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ಭಾರತೀಯ ಕಾವ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಿತ್ರ ಅರ್ಜುನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಿ ಡಿಸರ್ವ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಪ್ರಿಷಿಯೇಷನ್. ಮತ್ತು ಇದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಮಾಣೀಕರಿಸಿದವರು ಯಾರು ಅಂದರೆ ಸರ್ಟಿಫೈಡ್ ಡಿಲಿಟ್ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ. ಅದನ್ನು ಹಿರಿಯರಾದ ಗಣೇಶರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಕುಲಪತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಅನುಮೋದಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಕುಲಪತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮದೇನು ಕೆಲಸ ಅಂದರೆ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ರೂವ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಬರೆಯೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಕೆಲಸ. ಸೊ ಆ ಅನುಮೋದನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋ ಮೂಲಕ ನನ್ನ ಸಂತೋಷವನ್ನು ನಾನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇದು ಸಿರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು ಅವರು ಅರ್ಜುನ್. ಇದು ಮೊದಲನೇದ್ದು, ಇದು ಇನ್ನು ಆರಂಭ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಇನ್ನು 6 ಭಾಗ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ 6 ಡಿಲೀಟಿನ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ, 6 ಡಿಲೀಟ್ಗಳ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾವಂತರ ಸಮುದಾಯ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾವಂತರು, ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸುವ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾವಂತರಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಈ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾ ಮಾಡುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸಗಳಿಗೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಅರ್ಥವೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾವಂತರ ಸಮುದಾಯ ಇದನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿ, ಇದರ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ತಿಳಿದುಕೊಂಡು ಓದಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಗೌರವ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಕೊನೆ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅದೇ ಈ ಸತ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಶಿವ ಮತ್ತು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ, ಇದು ಬಹಳ ಮಹತ್ವದ ಮಾತನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅನೇಕ ಬಾರಿ ಡಿ.ವಿ. ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರ ಕೃತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಓದಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಟ್ರೂತ್ ಈಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈಡ್, ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯುಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಕರ್ಣ. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸತ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸತ್ಯದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಸತ್ಯದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳೇ ಸತ್ಯಗಳ ಕಡೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಕರೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರಣಗಳು, ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರಣಗಳು, ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಬಾರಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರಣಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾದ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು ನೋಡುವ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಕ್ಷತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಬೇಕಂತಾದರೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕರಣದ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಉಪಕರಣಗಳನ್ನು ಸೇರಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಉಪಕರಣದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಹ್ಯೂಮರ್ನ ಈ ಕೃತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಕಾವ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರದ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಕರಣಗಳನ್ನು ಪುಷ್ಟಗೊಳಿಸಿ ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಬರುವ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಅರ್ಜುನರು ಆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಮುಂದಿನ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಡೆದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ರೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಓದಿದವರು, ಕಾವ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಓದಿದವ್ರು ಹ್ಯೂಮರ್ನ ಓದಲ್ಲ, ಹ್ಯೂಮರ್ನ ಓದಿದವ್ರು ಕಾವ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಓದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಎರಡನ್ನೂ ಓದಿದವ್ರು ಈ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇದೊಂದು ತುಂಬ ರೇರ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಕೆಲಸ. ಇದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಅಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಈ ಮೂಲಕ ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಹೊಸ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಯೂ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹೊಸ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ತನ್ನದೇ ಆದ ಸೀಮೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಹೊಸ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು, ಇದು ಹೊಸ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಯ ಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರವೇಶ ಮಾಡಾಯ್ತು. ನಾವು ಹೊಸ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರವೇಶ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಪರಿಷ್ಕಾರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಪರಿಷ್ಕಾರದ ಮೂಲಕ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ನೌ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಅಹೆಡ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ಸ್. ಇದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ನ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಅಂತ ನನಗನ್ನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಇದು ಬರೀ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ತುಂಬ ಗಂಭೀರವಾದ ಹೊಸ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಆರಂಭ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗನ್ನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ತುಂಬ ರೇರ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅರ್ಜುನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇವಲ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅರ್ಜುನ ನಿಂತು ಯುದ್ಧ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಪಂಚಪಾಂಡವರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಯತ್ರ ಯೋಗೇಶ್ವರ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಯತ್ರ ಪಾರ್ಥೋ ಧನುರ್ಧರ ತತ್ರ ಶ್ರೀ ವಿಜಯೋಭೂತಿ ಧ್ರುವ ನೀತಿರ್ಮತಿರ್ಮಮ. ಎರಡನೇದ್ದು ಈ ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ಮೂಲಕ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯವನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ಆಸ್ವಾದನೆ ಇದು ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ಮೂಲಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕರ್ಣ ಮತ್ತು ಅಂತಃಕರಣಗಳು ಬಹಳ, ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ ಆಗದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ನಾವು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೇವಲ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಅದು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಲಿ. ಈ ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾವ್ಯಗಳ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ, ನಮ್ಮ ಶಿಲ್ಪ, ಕಾವ್ಯ, ಇವುಗಳನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂತಃಕರಣ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರಗೊಂಡು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ನಾವು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಆಸ್ವಾದನೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಥ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯದ ಆಸ್ವಾದನೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಇವತ್ತು ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಇದು ಕ್ಯಾಲೆಂಡರ್, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಲ್ಪ ಇದೆ. ನೋಡುವ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪುಟ್ಟದಾದ ಕಾವ್ಯ, ಒಂದು ಅಹಲ್ಯಾದ ಚಿತ್ರಣ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು. ಅದು ಕೊಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆ, ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹಾಂ, ದುಃಖೇ ಸುಖೇ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಆಸ್ವಾದನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸೋ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್. ರಾಮ ಕುಳಿತಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಹಲ್ಲೆ, ಇದನ್ನು ಅನೇಕ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ ಜನಗಳು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಜನರು ನೋಡುವ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ತುಂಬ ಅನೇಕ ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾನಗಳಿವೆ, ಅನೇಕ ವಿಮರ್ಶೆಗಳಿವೆ, ಇದರ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಸಮ್ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಚಂಪೂ ರಾಮಾಯಣ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಶಿಲ್ಪವನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದರೆ ನಮಗೊಂದು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣುವ ರಾಮ, ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೌತಮನೋ ವಿಶ್ವಾಮಿತ್ರನೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಋಷಿ ಗೌತಮರು ಕುಳಿತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಹಲ್ಯೆ ಅದನ್ನು ರಾಮನ ಪಾದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪುಷ್ಪವನ್ನು ಇಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಹಲ್ಯೆಯ ಚಿತ್ರಣ. ದುಃಖೇ ಸುಖೇ ಚ ರಜಯೇವ ಬಭೂವ ಹೇತು ತಾದೃಗ್ವಿಧೆ ಮಹತಿ ಗೌತಮ ಧರ್ಮಪತ್ನ್ಯಾ ಯಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಗುಣೇನ ರಜಸ ವಿಕೃತಿಂ ಗತಾ ಸಾ ರಾಮಸ್ಯ ಪಾದರಜಸ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಂ ಪ್ರಭೇದೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಈ ಪದ್ಯ. ವಿಕೃತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ಮತ್ತು ರಜಸ್ಸು ಒಂದೇ. ರಜಸ್ಸು ಅದು ವಿಕೃತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ಎರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾತು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಮಸ್ಯ ಪಾದರಜಸ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಂ ಪ್ರಭೇದೆ. ವಿಕೃತಿಂ ಗತ, ರಜಸಾ ವಿಕೃತಿಂ ಗತ. ಅವಳ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿರುವ ರಾಗದಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅವಳು ವಿಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಆಮೇಲೆ ರಾಮನ ಪಾದ ರಜಸ್ಸಿನಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅವಳು ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ಪಡೆದಳು. ರಾಮನ ಪಾದ ರಜಸ್ಸು ಅದು ಭಕ್ತಿಯ ಸಂಕೇತ. ಆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ರಾಗ ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಕೃತಿಗೆ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಚಿತ್ರ ನೋಡಿ, ಶಿಲ್ಪ ಚಿತ್ರವನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಚಿತ್ರವನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಆಸ್ವಾದನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಧರ್ಮದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ರಾಮಸ್ಯ ಪಾದರಜಸ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಂ ಪ್ರಭೇದೆ ಅನ್ನುವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಧರ್ಮದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಗೆ ಸಹಜವಾದ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪಡಿತೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಚಿತ್ರಣ ನನಗೆ ಸತ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಶಿವ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯಗಳ ಚಿತ್ರಣ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನುಭವ. ಇದು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯ ಭಿತ್ತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಮನೆಯ ಭಿತ್ತಿಗಳಿಗಿಂತಲೂ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಭಿತ್ತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ತುಂಬ ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಹತ್ತಿರವಾಗತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದರು, ಕೇವಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ಆಚರಣೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಥ ದಿನಗಳ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾದರೆ ತಿಥಿ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಆ ಶಬ್ದಗಳ, ನಾನು ಮೊನ್ನೆ ನೇಪಾಳದಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಒಬ್ಬರು ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರಾಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದರು. ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಹಾಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ನಾನು ಇಂಥ ದಿವಸ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. 14th, 16th, 15th, 14th, 15th ನವಂಬರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅವರು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ? 14th, 15th ನವಂಬರ್ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ನೇಪಾಳದ ಜನರಿಗೆ, ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಈ ಕ್ಯಾಲೆಂಡರ್ನ ಡೇಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮಗೆ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ ಸೋಮವಾರ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ ಸೋಮವಾರ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ವೈಕುಂಠ ಏಕಾದಶಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ವೈಕುಂಠ ಏಕಾದಶಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ 23 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದವ್ರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೆ ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ 23 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ವೈಕುಂಠ ಏಕಾದಶಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮತ್ತು ನೇಪಾಳದ ನಡುವಿನ ಅಂತರ. ತುಂಬ ಹತ್ತಿರದ ದೇಶಗಳು ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಯಾವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಕಾಲಗಣನೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆತ್ಮಸಾತ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ ಕಾಲ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ವ್ಯವಹಾರದ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ಕಾಲಗಣನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಭಾವನಿರ್ಮಾಣದ ಮೂಲಕ ನೋಡಿ, ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಅಂಥದೋಗತ್ತೋ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿಕೊಳ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಟ್ರೂತ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಒಂದೋ ವಿರೋಧ ಇದೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸೆಗಳಿವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಶಿವದ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಮಾತು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಸಾರ್ವಕಾಲಿಕವಾದ ಶಿವದ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು ಭಾರತೀಯರು ಮಾತ್ರ. ಆ ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಭಾರತದ್ದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಕೊಡುಗೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗನ್ನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ಮೂರನ್ನು ಬೆಸೆತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅಂದರೆ ಸತ್ಯದ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರ, ಶಿವ ಇಲ್ಲದೇನೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಸತ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯದ ಎರಡರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಭಾರತ ಮಾತ್ರ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ತತ್ವ ಅಂತ ನಂಗೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮವನ್ನು ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ಮೂಲಕ, ಈ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನೋಡಬೇಕು ನಾವು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಾಗ ಇದು ಭಾವದ ಜಗತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮಗೆ ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ಮೂಲಕ ಸತ್ಯವನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಂತಃಕರಣದ ಮೂಲಕ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಭಾವ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ, ಭಾವ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಈ ಭಾವ ಕಟ್ಟುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಸದ್ಭಾವ ಕಟ್ಟುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯೇ ಅದು. ಅಂಥತೋ ಗೊತ್ತೋ ನಾನು ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಅದು ಒಂದು ಮಂಗಲ ಭಾವ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಶಿವಭಾವ ಮಂಗಲ ಭಾವಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಅದರ ಆಚರಣೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದರ ಅನೇಕ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವಿಶ್ವಾಸಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಶಿವದ ಕಡೆಗೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ನಮ್ಮತನ ಕಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಈ ಶಿವಭಾವಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನು ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯ, ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾದ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಕೇವಲ ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇದಲ್ಲ, ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಕೇವಲ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯಾನುಭವಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಉಪಾಸನೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಶಿವೋಪಾಸನೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು. ನದಿ ಹರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಪಾತ್ರಗಳಿರಬೇಕು. ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಬೌಂಡ್ರೀಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ನದಿ ಹರಿಯಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ. ಅದು ಆ ಬೌಂಡ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕಿದೆ, ಪಾತ್ರ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಪಾತ್ರ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿರಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಪಾತ್ರ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೋರ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾವದ ನದಿ ಹರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾದರೆ ಅದು ಈ ಪಾತ್ರ ಇರಲೇಬೇಕು, ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಆದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ಗಳು ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆ ಪಾತ್ರ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ನದಿ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳಿರಬೇಕು ನದಿ ಪಾತ್ರದ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದ್ದೇ ಮಾತ್ರ ಗಂಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನವರೆಗೆ ಹರಿತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾದ ಶಿಲಾಖಂಡಗಳಿವೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಆದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೀಮಿತಗೊಳ್ಳದೇನೆ ನದಿಯ ಪಾತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳೇ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ? ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಆ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳನ್ನು ಮೀರಿದ ಒಂದು ಭಾವದ ನದಿ ಹರಿತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಗಣೇಶರ ಮನೆಯ ಹರಟೆ ಕಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಡೀತದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು ನನಗೆ. ಇದು ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಾತರ್ದ್ಯೂತ ಪ್ರಸಂಗೇನ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನೇ ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಪ್ರಸಂಗತಃ ಕಾಲೋಗಚ್ಚತಿ ಧೀಮತಾಮ್ ಅಂತಿದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರೇಕ್ಷಾದ ಜಾಗ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯ ಜಾಗ, ಅದರ ಕೊನೆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಆಗೋದು ಕೂಡ, ಎರಡೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಫೈನಲ್ ಆಗೋದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅವರ ಕಟ್ಟೆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹರಟೆ ಕಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಹಳ ವಿಶೇಷ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಿ ವಿ ಗುಂಡಪ್ಪನವರ ಹರಟೆ ಕಟ್ಟೆಯನ್ನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
I'd like to thank Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi for his insightful speech, which was delivered in his own inimitable style, which also gave us his perspective as an academician and an administrator. So with this, the on-stage program is about to end. We have the next two parts of the program, a video introduction to the activities of Precha and also the introduction to the calendar. So to facilitate these two programs, I'd like to request the dignitaries on the stage to occupy the seats among the audience.
While the stage is being arranged for the next presentation of calendar as the final item of today's program, Professor Varakhedi ji has wonderfully spoken about Precha. I am personally and also on behalf of Precha, I am highly indebted. And he told that we are Panchapandavas. Here the Panchapandavas are our trustees. My college day friend, classmate, and even now my classmate in studies of classics, Shri KBS Ramchandra is here. And then my another friend, Shri Shakaranta is here. And then Vikram Phadke, yet another friend of mine. And then we have Kashyap Nayak who spoke. And then we have Chandrasekhar K.S. All these 5 trustees, they are the real Pandavas. And they are pulling on the chariot of Precha. And they are standing behind us and they are supporting us. and not to speak about our wonderful guiding personalities who are our support, moral support, spiritual support as well, starting from Professor S.L. Bhairappa to Professor Satyavati, everyone are supporting. And beyond this formal group of 5 people, trustees and few advisors, and then we have the contributing editors. Apart from them, we have many people. They are friends from our Precha study circle, Padyapana, jokes group, like that. We have a very extended friend circle. It may be Jivana Dharma study circle or Natyashastra study circle or the Regumsha study circle that has been inception since 20 years. So like that, so many people who are involved, not less than some 50, 60 friends who are directly supporting us. And even the extensions of that, for example, Dr. Shobha Shashikumar is here, Nirupama Rajendra is here, and many such people, and even outside the country. Our Prasanna Ganapati Basavapatna or our Dr. Pratap and many such people, they are constantly supporting us. We are highly indebted to all of them, and because of their goodwill, it's going on.
We would like to present a small video that documents the aims, objectives and activities taken up by Precha Pratisthana thus far. This video was played at the last year's event as well, but for the benefit of the people who gathered here for the first time, a small video about Precha.
By the element of timelessness and continuing relevance. The Preksha Journal Preksha Pratisthana is an organization with the primary goal of making the vast and checkered fabric of Indian cultural heritage more accessible to all. It has 2 main focus areas: publishing research and subjects related to Indian culture and producing lucid English translations of valuable literature in these areas written in Indian languages. The dominant activity of the organization is the publication of Precha, precha.in, a niche online journal featuring articles on Indian art, culture, literature, history, and philosophy. Deeply influenced by the Indian spirit, the content on Precha is characterized by the element of timelessness and continuing relevance. The Precha journal was originally started in early 2010 by a group of youngsters from Bangalore under the guidance of Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh.
The genesis of Precha was in the study circle of Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha that was being led by Dr. Shatavadhani R. Ganesh. The study circle met fortnightly, and during the sessions, the discussions would wander into many areas which are covered in Kalidasa's work, as well as that are of common interest for the participants. These included Indian culture, tradition, philosophy, spiritual aspects, epics, history, and so on. These discussions carried on from the earlier Sanskrit poets like Vyasa and Valmiki, and through the classical ages, different poets, different authors, their works, even up to the contemporary poets and their works, and those in regional languages, especially Kannada. In this churning, we were learning so much, and a genuine desire to share these things germinated. Of course, Dr. Ganesh was mentoring, was pushing, and was inspiring all of us to write on these aspects since so much of analysis was being done.
Encouraged by the regular stream of quality content to its corpus and response from a discerning readership, Precha Pratishtana was officially registered as a non-profit organization in 2016. We are fortunate to have as our advisors stalwarts such as Dr. S.L. Bhairappa, Nadoja S.R. Ramaswamy, Professor L.V. Shantakumari, Dr. S.R. Leela, Dr. T.S. Satyavati, Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh, and Sandeep Balakrishna.
Having been an active part of the Precha family for over 5 years, it has been an absolute delight, a great pleasure, as well as a highly fulfilling experience. By any standard, Precha Pratishtana is one of the most eminent institutions in contemporary cultural milieu of Bharatavarsha. The quiet and sustained method of work done by Precha Pratishtana and its entire team is truly worthy of emulation.
In the journey so far, the Precha Journal has published more than 2,500 essays and translations in various languages, including English, Sanskrit, Kannada, Tamil, and Bengali. We have published around 25 books in various genres such as philosophy, epics, history, dance, music, theatre, literature, poetry, aesthetics, pen portraits, and reminiscences.
In all the Abhinava events, including the recently conducted Madanotsava, instead of giving flower bouquets, we chose to give bouquets. And these were extraordinary books on dance, music, literature from one of the most amazing publishing house, Precha Pratishtana.
Precha Pratishtana provides authentic content related to literature, arts, philosophy, and aesthetics.
Apart from original writings, Precha has also published translations of Kannada literatures such as Dr. D.V. Gundappa and Professor A.R. Krishna Shastri. We have also republished the major writings of Professor M. Hiriyanna. Some of our publications include Stories Behind Verses, The Best of Hiriyanna, Vagartha Vismayasvada, Bharati Lochana, Nipuna Praghunakam, Rutu Kalyanam, Shiva Rama Krishna, Evolution of Mahabharata, Art Gallery of Memories, Prekshaniyam, a tapestry of pen portraits, The Art and Science of Avadhanam in Sanskrit, Studies in Ancient Tamil Law and Society, and The Essential Mahabharata.
The books that are published by Precha Pratishtana is always at cost, or in fact lesser than the cost of the publication. In order to ensure that it is made known to wider audience at almost cheaper or at no cost, we have ensured that the articles published by Precha Journal, online journal, is for free.
Precha publishes an annual calendar putting together some of the finest sculptures of various Indian royal dynasties, along with emotionally rich verses from classical Sanskrit literature. This is a humble attempt to highlight the organic correlation that has always existed among the various classical Indian art forms, in this case poetry and sculpture. Thus far, the calendar has featured sculptures from the Badami Chalukyas, Hoysalas, Rashtrakutas, Pallavas, Kalingas, and Cholas.
Bringing out the exquisite calendar is another unique work of Precha. It is a work of art in designing and in execution also, with pictures of sculptures from famous temples, Sanskrit shlokas and its meanings in English. It remains a preserver's special item, I can say it.
To understand a country, a civilization, a culture, we should first keep aside our spectacles and see it as it is. The problem with Indological studies today is many people begin to view Indian studies, Indian knowledge systems, and Indian society and culture with a spectacle given by the colonized mindsets. The same thing applies to our Indian culture. The people who colonized us, who were racist, who were fanatic, who always had contempt and wanted to dominate and convert the whole of the Indian society, they take up the task of writing about India. So there's a deficiency of the insider's viewpoint. Or we have so many scholars who are so well initiated into the Indian knowledge systems and the Indian thought line, but where are they heard much in the public space? We have to bring them out. The Indian mind with the Indian spirit, who lives the Indian way and who understands the spirit behind the Indian culture, should come forward. Precha Pratishtanam is doing a very wonderful job. It has brought out the lives of these great people and what they have contributed to the society, what were their works, what were the contents, and by knowing these great scholars and contributors, we shall open a window into the world of Indian cultural space.
In May 2021, Precha organized a unique lecture series on exemplars of Indian wisdom from Karnataka. Its aim was to introduce the life and legacy of scholars from Karnataka whose works are the creme de la creme of their respective fields. These scholars serve as models worthy of emulation for the sincere student of Bharatiya Vidya. The lecture series featured 14 exemplars who enriched various academic disciplines. Precha is fortunate to have received financial support from many donors, the foremost of whom have been Infosys Foundation and Development Foundation.
अर्थचतुष्टय शिक्षा साक्षात्कृत यज्ञदान तपसां दीक्षा अर्थचतुष्टय शिक्षा साक्षात्कृत यज्ञदान तपसां दीक्षा
अर्थचतुष्टय शिक्षा अर्थचतुष्टय शिक्षा साक्षात्कृत यज्ञदान तपसां दीक्षा
वाग्वृत्तित्रय रक्षा प्रेक्षासौ जयति भारती पदनाक्षा
वाग्वृत्तित्रय रक्षा प्रेक्षासौ जयति भारती पदलाक्षा
प्रेक्षासौ जयति प्रेक्षासौ जयति प्रेक्षासौ जयति
that was a short introduction of the activities conducted by Precha Pratishtana. In fact, there is a small addition there. There is one new language which has been introduced recently. We have a series of articles in Hindi now, which deals with the translation of Bharatiya Kshatra Parampara, which has been an ongoing series. So we have ventured into a new language this year. Now I would like to call Sri Arjun Bharadwaj to introduce our calendar for the year 2024.
Namaste, everyone. Very good morning. So this is the last item in today's the book release event. So every year it has been my responsibility to conclude the ongoing year and give a beginning to the next year by the introduction, through the introduction of the calendar. It's a very heavy responsibility, which I try to finish off in about 10 or 15 minutes I'll take. But then this is also almost a refrain, a pallavi, which comes about in my speech, in my introduction usually. I'm going to take only about 10-15 minutes, but you have the entire year to spend with the calendar. So you can spend months together enjoying each one of those sculptures and the poetic beauty which is present there. Just a year is not sufficient. We'll have to dedicate our lives to the enjoyment of the beautiful poetry and the sculptures that are going to be presented here in the Precha calendar. So, so far we have covered many dynasties. Every year the Precha Pratishtana features a calendar which brings together the sculptures from temples which were constructed by kings belonging to a certain dynasty. We started off with the Badami Chalukyas, we covered the Hoysalas, we covered the Pallavas, we covered the Kalinga Nagaras, then the Cholas, and now we have come to the Guptas. So the Gupta Golden Age represents the hallmark of truth and beauty in the Indian culture, like Professor Varakhedi ji has been stressing throughout the event. So there, in this Gupta period, many important treatises, the condensed wisdom of the past and the beginning of all the future research, all that got concretized in the Gupta period. So here is where many Shastrakaras, such as Varaha Mihra, as well as Vatsyayana, and many of them existed. And this is the period, the epitome of Indian poetry, epitome of Indian art was found in Kalidasa. He was also nurtured by the Gupta dynasty, and we find all his compositions were composed during the rule of the Guptas. So the Guptas were not just encouraged these scholastic activities, the scholarly activities and the poetic activities, but they were also excellent patrons of temple construction. And the images, the sculptures of Guptas that we find around India, especially in the northern parts of India, they are the ones which have had a lasting impression on our minds as the right kind of presentation of our deities. In fact, the Guptas gave a concrete image to our deities, to the Devas, to Shiva, to Vishnu, to Devi, etc. So from there on, from the inspiration of the Gupta period, the later dynasties continued and they started improvising upon what the Guptas gave. So in the Gupta sculptures, we find an optimal blend of stylization and realism. The Natyadharmi and the Lokadharmi, they find the optimal blend, the golden mean is achieved there. So the Guptas were good at two things, two seemingly opposite contrasting things. They were extremely good at cave architecture, cave temple architecture. Like we see the first image here is from the Udayagiri caves from the Madhya Pradesh. So that represents the Bhuvaraha Murti, like it's very evident, Mahavishnu coming in the form of Varaha for safeguarding the earth or rescuing the earth from Pralaya. See, one of the very interesting iconographic features of the Bhuvaraha Murti, which we for the first time see very beautifully sculpted in the Gupta period, is that the Bhudevi is towards the nose, towards the nostrils of the Varaha Murti. So in fact, two principles coming to action here, Gandhavati Prithvi. So one of the fundamental features of Prithvi is its fragrance, is its Gandhavatva. and Gandhena Pashavas Pashyanti. So Mahavishnu came in the form of Varaha and he searched for Bhudevi through Gandha. So, and that is how he has uplifted her. So that has been very beautifully captured in that sculpture. And it is almost like the Varaha Vishwarupa. We see all the Rudras, Adityas, Vasus, etc., all of them around him watching the glorious job of the uplifting of Bhudevi. So, Dharma Samstapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So, when Adharma was, that is what the deluge or the Pralaya represents, and the Mahavishnu uplifting Bhudevi from the Pralaya Jala. So, while that represents one brilliant aspect of the cave architecture, the other extraordinary stuff that the Guptas did was also to construct structural temples. And that became the seeds for the two branches of Indian temple architecture, the Nagaraj style in North India and the Dravida style in South India, and an admixture of both being the Vesara style. So here we find the Dashavatara temple in Devagruha, Diogar as it is called today. It is called the Sarvatobhadra style of architecture, where you have entrances from all the four sides. So that is the Dashavatara temple. And on the left, we find a sculpture from the Elephanta caves, which is off the coast of Mumbai. So that was not directly built by the Guptas, but the golden age of Guptas, it inspired many contemporary kings, many smaller dynasties. So one of the smaller dynasties which it's inspired and motivated in creating of beauty and in creating of truth was the Vakatakas, who ruled in parts of Maharashtra. So the Elephanta caves, which belong to Maharashtra today. So some sculptures from there, which are contemporary to the Gupta period, they have also been brought together. See, the sculpture also reveals another painful side. The Elephanta sculptures were destroyed because the Portuguese practiced shooting at our sculptures, unfortunately. See here, it is very metaphorical, I would say. The limbs of Shiva have been chopped off, the Angika has been chopped off, but the Sattva is still alive. India might have lost its limbs, the Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., but then the Sattva of Sanatana Dharma is very much alive. So the sculpture itself becomes a very beautiful representation of that. So we have brought together sculptures from the Gupta structural temples, especially the Dashavatara temple in Devagruha. By the way, the name Dashavatara is a later addition. It's a later connotation to that temple. It could we don't know what it was called in the Gupta period itself. The later archaeologists, that is in the last 100 years, 150 years, they have given the name Dashavatara temple to that. In fact, the Elephanta caves also, we don't know what the original name was, because there were two prominent, huge elephant sculptures in the front of the cave. It has been given the Elephanta, the name has been given. Garalapuri, in fact, it is usually Garapuri, etc. That island is called. So, as with every year, we feature a poem from the Shasanas, one of the inscriptions. So, this features a poem from the Junagadh inscription. Tasmin drupe shasati naiva kaschit dharma tapeto manujaf prajasu arto daridro vyasani kadaryo dandyo navayo brushapidita syad. So, it's very interesting. It says, during Skandagupta's times, nobody deviated from dharma and nobody was in distress or in poverty. There were no misers and nobody indulged in vices. Even a criminal was not tortured unreasonably. So, in many of the cases, these kinds of padyas we find in many other shasanas as well, in many of the other inscriptions. But in most other cases, that is an ideal that they would want to pursue. But here it was the reality. It was the svabhavokti in the case of the Gupta period. It was the description of the reality of the Gupta Empire. For about 7 generations of kings, they had an unbroken, in time and space, the kind of expanse that they have and the kind of dharma, the kind of tranquility that was there during the Gupta period, that is evidenced by the numerous shastras and the numerous kavyas and the numerous artistic works which have originated from the Gupta period. So that sculpture is of Vamana Shiva, another very interesting imagination of Shiva in a kubja form. So I'll just point towards a few interesting features of the sculptures and the poems wherever possible in the limited time I have got. So this is a very beautiful depiction of the episode of Gajendra Moksha, which we hear from the Bhagavata. In fact, after this, there are not too many Gajendra Moksha sculptures throughout the Brihat Bharata. There is one found in the Hoysala sculptures, but not many. In the Chalukya temples also some are found, but one of the earliest ones is found here. See, the poem says that as soon as the Mahavishnu heard the Arthanada of Gajendra, he immediately rushed without even taking a minute to deck himself, etc. So Bhagavan Vishnu, he does not care about his external appearance. His heart immediately reaches out to anybody who is in pain. And here we see the kind of emotions that even other animals have towards the divinity. The elephant is offering a lotus as a thanksgiving, as a sign of gratitude to Mahavishnu for rescuing it from the trouble. So a very beautiful sculpture. This is still in situ in the Dashavatara temple at Devagruha. This is a very interesting one. So this sculpture appears below another panel, which I'll show later on, below the Sheshashayi Vishnu, which Professor Varakhedi ji also showed us and explained about it. So this features the 5 Pandava brothers as well as Draupadi. Look at the beauty of the sculpture there. Look at the beauty of the Draupadi's stance and the garment that she is wearing. The softness of the garment and the thinness of the garment also comes about very beautifully. She is standing in a very charming Tribhanga, and the Paurusha of the 5 brothers is very much evident there. So this has been mapped on. This has been, in addition to, in parallel with this, a verse from the Veni Samhara Nataka has been given here. One other interesting point that we feature in every Precha calendar is that the sculptures belong to one period, but the poetry ranges across times. So this is a testimony to the fact that the poets and the sculptors, all of them belong to the same monolithic Indian culture, the Sanatana Dharma. While one showed it through stone, the others showed it through poetry, through letters, through words. So that is what we see. The poem is very interesting here. Chatvaro vayam rutvijaha sa bhagavan karmopadeshta harihi sangramadvara dikshito narapatihi patni gruhita vrata. Kauravyah Pashavah Priya Paribhava Kleshopashantif Palam Rajanyopanimantranaaya Rasatis Pitam Yasho Dundubihi. So that is the verse. So the entire Kurukshetra Yuddha is compared to a yajna, as though it is a dharmic process which is being performed. And the Pandavas are the Ritviks. The Pandavas are the Ritviks. And Bhagavan Hari is the one who guides and instructs. In fact, in the very opening of the Mahabharata, Bhagavan Vyasa says, to this Dharma Vriksha called Dharmaraya, the root is Brahmacha Brahmanascha. Bhagavan Krishna is the root. So that is very beautifully captured through this verse as well. So it is through the guidance of Bhagavan Vishnu, Bhagavan Hari, that it happens, of Krishna. Yudhishthira is the Yajamana, and Draupadi also has undertaken the vrata of being a part of the war. In her own way, she is supporting the bigger yajna process, the bigger dharmic aspect that the yajna is going to represent, that the yuddha is going to represent. And the Kauravas are the pashus. They are animals which will be sacrificed in the yajna. And our kirti, our yashas, so that will be yasho dundubihi. Through the war drums and trumpets, it will be heard all around. The victory of dharma will be heard all around the world. So that is very beautifully captured in this verse from the Veni Samhara, and the sculpture is from the Dashavatara temple at Devagruha, the yoga. This is another fantastic sculpture, an Ardhanarishwara sculpture from the Elephanta caves, like I mentioned at the beginning. See, again mutilated, but the sattva is still very much intact. So the left part, we see the divine Devi, Parvati. In her Tribhanga, the darpana or the adarsha that she is holding, the mirror that she is holding, indicates beauty. And Shiva represents Shiva and Satya. Satya, Shiva and Sundara, all of them amalgamated here in one image. And there in his right hand, Shiva holds a lotus, Padmapatram Ivambasa. Attachment with detachment, involvement with disinvolvement. So that is what the Padma represents, and that is what the Ardhanarishwara Tattva also represents. So that has been very beautifully captured in the sculpture, and that has been mapped on to one of the most famous verses, the opening verse from the Raghuvamsha. Vagartha viva samprukto vagartha pratipattaye jagataf pitaro mande parvati parameshwaro. So there is Ekashesha Samasa. They are not two different things. They are two manifestations of the same principle. And in fact, probably Kalidasa was the first one who extended the imagery of Ardhanarishwara to apply it to form and content, to Shabda and Artha. And what else does a poet want? He needs to have great sanction or great skill in using shabdas, and they should be meaningful. So both of them are very important raw materials for a poet, and he has used that as the opening padya of his magnum opus, the Raghuvamsha. And of course, Kalidasa was almost a contemporary to the sculpting of these sculptures as well. So it's a very beautiful map on. Of course, the credits have been given at the opening of the calendar itself. All this mapping of the verses was done by Shatavadani, Dr. R. Ganesh and Shashikiran. They provided the translation as well. And some of these images were captured by one very dear friend who lives in the US, whose name is Sumanta Basavapattana. So he captured some of the sculptures in his tour, and some of them had been captured by me, a few others from Wikimedia Commons. So, okay, let me go ahead. And this is the very beautiful image which originally belonged to the Dashavatara temple in Devagruha, Deoghar, but now it is found in the museum, the National Museum in Delhi. Yasmad gunena rajasa vikrutim gatasa ramasya pada rajasa prakrutim prabede. So the play on the word rajasa, so that negative aspect in her mind, so that was overcome because of the pada rajas or the pada dhuli of Rama. See, this is a very beautiful instance where you find a very dharmic person, a very embodiment of dharma, and just with this association, just by looking at him, all your negative aspects, they go away. You realize your own faults. There is some kind of contemplation, introspection that comes about. A very similar situation we encounter in the Odyssey. Helen tells Odysseus' son Telemachus that back then, long back when the Trojan War was happening, your father Odysseus had come as a spy into the walls of Troy. There, for the first time, I realized my mistake when I looked at Odysseus. So you look at a dharmic person and you realize your own faults if you are introspective, if you are contemplative. A very similar situation is found here in the Ramayana. So we see the sculpture also has quite a number of details to indicate that it happens outdoors, it happens in the forest, the foliage, the vegetation also has been brought about, and there are many such very beautiful details there. And a very serene Buddha, embodiment of tranquility, and in most of the cases, the sculpture also indicates one of the prominent festivals, one of the prominent vratas or utsavas which take place in that particular month. So this has been mapped on to the Buddha Purnima, which takes place which occurs in the May 2024. And then this is the episode of Shurpanaka Nasacheda. So Vairupya Paunaruktena Bhishanam Tam Ayojayat. So Lakshmana disfigured an already disfigured Shurpanaka. So Shurpanaka was not just ugly looking, she was ugly in her thoughts. So she is an embodiment of ugliness and adharma, and more disfigurement was the punishment that she got from the hands of Lakshmana. This is also a very beautiful sculpture from the Gupta period, and not many instances of this Shurpanaka Nasa Cheda we find in the lake. There are a few instances in the Hoysala sculptures, a few outside today's political boundaries of India. In Prambadan, we find one such sculpture, but this is one of the earliest ones which is available to us. And this is the Sheshashayi Vishnu. So Vishnu, he resides, he sleeps on the Anantanaga. Vyapnoti iti Vishnu, he is all-pervading principle. So that all-expansive principle, you cannot put him on a limited snake. Ananta, all-expanding, endless is the snake on which the Sarpa on which he sleeps. So a very beautiful Sheshashayi. Amongst the earliest Sheshashayi images that we find in India. And from his Nabhi Kamala, Brahma is also emerging, like we can see. And Lakshmi is at his feet. And Professor Varakhedi had also started off today's his speech with this verse. And this is a very beautiful instance where Devaki is handing over the little child, Krishna, to Vasudeva. That was the last time the mother saw the infant Krishna. The next time she sees, he is already an adolescent child. This mother, she couldn't even celebrate a few moments with that child right after his birth. See, the last look that she is having at the child and the responsibility that Vasudeva has, he is almost hurrying up her to give the baby, and he has to cross the river Yamuna, and he has to find a good place to keep the baby in safeguard. So that has been captured here in the sculpture. And this again is the Narayana Maharshis who performed tapas in the Badrikashrama, it is believed. And a verse from Vikramorvashiya of Kalidasa has been mapped onto this. It's a very beautiful verse. You may go through it at your leisure. I'm hardly left with time. And this is another very impressive sculpture from Elephanta. In fact, the Elephanta caves are synonymous with this sculpture in some sense. Many interpretations have been provided to what this sculpture represents. Some people think that it is Trimurti. Some other people think that it is the 5 faces of Shiva. The 4th face is behind and the 5th face is invisible, etc. They think. But one way to interpret is to think that it is the Saumya and the Ugra Rupa of Shiva on either sides and the Shanta Rupa in the middle. So that has been very beautifully captured through the poem as well, which is from the Subhashita Ratna Kosha. And this is from the New York Metropolitan Museum. See here, although that is the Krishna, his hands and legs are chopped off, his Raudra, that Paurusha is very much visible from his eyes. And the fear, that caricatured Rakshasa is also very seen, the Keshi Rakshasa. Look at his eyes. The emotions of animals which have been brought about by the Gupta sculptors is something extraordinary. And the verse also speaks about Vivrutayata Vaktra Kandaram Pratidavantam Ivantakam Prabhu Bhuja Sanumatav Praveshanat Agamam Vajra Iva Vyadarayat. So the verse is also speaking about the opened mouth of the Keshi Rakshasa, a very good mapping of what the sculpture provides. And as though a warning to the Keshi Rakshasa, and other Rakshasa has already been killed by Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So probably that is Dhenakasura or one of the other Asuras. So it's already a warning to Keshi Rakshasa, but still he's trying to attack this little boy Krishna. And the last one is a very beautiful sculpture of Sangeetakam, or a dancer with her accompanying ensemble, what would have been called the kutapa, if it is in a stage performance. So you can see that lady who is performing the Chinna Karana, one Karanamsha of Chinna has been seen, and thanks to Srimati Nirupama Rajendra for guiding us in the identification of these kinds of movements. See, the entire community, our friends and their friends and many scholars and many artists contribute towards the making of the calendar. And every time Dr. Shobha Shashikumar, Srimati Nirupama Rajendra, Sri Rajendra, Srimati Madhulika, all of them have contributed in various different ways in adding value to the calendar. So this is again a very famous verse from the Malavikagni of Kalidasa. Devanam idamamamanti munayah kantam kritam chakshusham rudre nedam umakruta vyatikare swange vibhaktam dvidha Traigunyodbhava matra lokachiritam nana rasam drishyate natyam bhindarucher janasya bahuta pyekam samaradhanam. So the virodhas in the poem, all that is, it is one means which can cater to the varied tastes of people. So it is one uniting factor. Through beauty, through entertainment, you're trying to educate people as well. So Traigunyodbhava matra loka charitam. Through stories, it tries to entertain and to educate. So that has been very beautifully captured here in the sculpture and in the poem as well. With this, I would like to conclude the presentation of the calendar. But a couple of words of gratitude. Maybe you can light hakbodu. So the initial idea of making this calendar was given by Sri Vasuki Heche, and it was given by Ramachandra KBS as well. And it has been an ongoing process from the year 2018. At the end of 2017, we made our first calendar, and it's still going on. We have about 4 other dynasties to cover probably, the Vijayanagara Empire and the Gurjara Pratiharas, and as well as the Chandela. So some of the dynasties have to be covered. By that, most of the beautiful sculptures would be covered through the Precha calendar itself. And each time, Hari Ravikumar has been very instrumental in designing the calendar. Of course, from the last 2 years, Rajneesh has been helping with the design, and our Shashi Kiran has been coordinating with Rajneesh. And it has been very beautifully printed by the Rashtrottana Mudranalaya, our heartfelt gratitude to them as well. Many people have contributed. The dates and the tithis, etc., they have been compiled together by Kashyap Nayak. He every year very meticulously he does that job. And many things which are not even found in the Panchanga, but in the wider world, they have also been included in the calendar. Many important days related to Sanatana Dharma, related to Indian history, all of them are featured in the calendar. And with regards to the work perspective of Indian perspective of truth and beauty in Homer's epics, I would like to give my heartfelt gratitude. I would like to offer my heartfelt gratitude to Shatavadani Dr. R. Ganesh. His very presence gave me confidence about myself. And each time I interacted with him, each time I went to get his feedback, it would almost seem like that very morning he has read the entire epics cover to cover. Not just the Iliad and the Odyssey, but also the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. From the top of his head, from the tips of his finger, he could spontaneously give me inputs, something extraordinary. He never stops mesmerizing me. The inspiration for learning the Greek language or the Sanskrit language, it was derived from Shatavadani, Dr. R. Ganesh. And Srimati L.V. Shantakumari, an embodiment, a reservoir of tranquility. I would honestly say that she has been more excited about the work than myself. Yeah. Her foreword, her munnadi for the work is a very great blessing, a very great treasure. Just in about 2 or 4 pages, she tells so many things which I have not managed to say in about 450 pages. So that is the insight that she is able to provide with that. And Dr. S.R. Ramaswamy, he suggested in our casual conversation, he is very casual. He claims he is very casual in giving advice, but one sentence uttered by him, it will take a lifetime for us to execute it in practice. So when we wanted to have a workshop on the Dharma Shastras, etc., so casually that morning he made some 10 pages of notes of what should be read and who should be the speakers and what are the primary sources, what are the secondary sources, and so on. Similarly, very casually he suggested the 8 titles for the Jnapaka Chitrashala series. Similarly, when I just uttered that I have this idea of bringing this comparative studies, he immediately came up with the title, The Library of Indo-Hellenic Interface. So that covers many different ideas, many different concepts are suggested just by the title. My humble gratitude to Dr. S.R. Ramaswamy as well. And without Hari Ravikumar, none of the books would have been possible. Every book he treats as though it is his own. More than his own. Most of us are multiple times tempted to put him as the co-author of all our works. While the source inspiration is from Dr. Ganesh, the output is through Hari, our dear friend Hari, a fantastic scholar himself. Throughout the design process and throughout the editing process, he supplied me with many very interesting insights. My gratitude to him as well. Our friends G.S. Raghavendra and Shashikaran, all of them gave multiple inputs. And my own brother Nakul and my cousin Chandan Yashwant. So one secret I would like to reveal here. So when I was desperate to make the index, I just casually asked my cousin Chandan Yashwant, who is in Germany, if he'll be able to help me with making the index. In 2 minutes, he wrote a code through which the entire index was prepared. I did not have to spend any time doing it. So that code is offered, he has offered it to the Precha Pratishtana, and it can be used for rest of our books. It is very accurate for any book production that can be used, I would say. With this, there are many, many people to thank, the trustees and many others. Yeah, the kind of vatsalya, the friendship that the trustees have with us, without any kind of expectations, the unconditional love that they give to us, the unconditional support that they give to us throughout the day and late at night, so that is something extraordinary. My heartfelt gratitude to them as well. And my gratitude to Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi for his presence and his blessings. Namaste.
I have another announcement. People who had pre-ordered the essential Sanatana Dharma and the calendars, if you are here, when you are collecting your copies, please mention that you have already pre-ordered because the people who are managing the bookstall, they might not know you personally and they might not have the details regarding whether you have pre-ordered it or not. So please, when you are picking up your copies, just mention it to the people who are managing the bookstall. And people who had specified that they would want to collect their books either in Precha Pratishtana or through the post, if you are here and if you can collect it now, you can collect it now itself. So that was an announcement which I had to make. Now we come to the end of the program where we have only one duty to perform, which is to thank everyone. So I'd like to invite our trustee, Sri KBS Ramachandra, to deliver the vote of thanks.
It is my honor and privilege to deliver the Vandanarpana for this extremely brilliant Sabha. Firstly, I would like to thank Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi, who came all the way from Delhi for the sake of this program, and he has graced it with his intellect and brilliance in articulation. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I thank our advisors, Nadoja S.R. Ramaswamy and Professor L.V. Shantakumari are here. Srimati Dr. T.S. Satyavati was here. She had to leave early. And Sri S.L. Bhairappa and Dr. S.R. Lila could not come to this meeting, and as well as Sandeep Balakrishna. I thank all of our advisors. I thank Sri V. Nagaraj of Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs, who was here with us earlier, for supporting us in various programs and events that we'd like to conduct. I thank Dr. Shashavadani R. Ganesh. If only to embarrass him, I thank him again and again, repeatedly and profusely. For being the driving force for Precha and many other activities, for being the center of attracting and collecting this group of interested individuals together, and for so many other things that cannot be expressed in words. I thank the authors of the books that were released today and the presenters who did an excellent job of summarizing the books. I thank Sri MP Kumar of Development Foundation for financially supporting Precha. Our earlier years were supported by Infosys Foundation and Dr. Sudha Murthy. And I also thank Infosys Foundation and Dr. Sudha Murthy. And I also thank many individuals who have been supporting us, including Sri Sudhakar Joyce, who is with us today. I thank the dignitaries who have joined us today, Srimati Nirupama and Sri Rajendra, and Srimati Shobha Shashikumar, and others for sparing their time and being with us. I thank Sri Rajneesh and Rashtrotana Mudranalaya for helping us out with all the printing and designing work for the calendar as well as the books. Yeah, I thank Sri Ritvik for taking up the onerous responsibility of marketing and selling our books and taking it to the outside world in general. I thank Sri, most of the, you are aware that most of the work of Precha is done in the online journal. Every single business day there is an article published in Precha, and the website and all of its issues, technical issues and so on are taken care of by the team of Saranga. I thank them for their support over the years. I thank the Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs and its staff for helping us and cooperating with us in conducting these events. I thank Sri Shreyas, who has been managing the bookstall outside. I thank him for his help. While multiple people have thanked the trustees are only like Utsav Murtis who have little to do, and the main work is being done by the contributing editors, Shashi Kiran, Arjun Bharadwaj, J.S. Raghavendra, and so on. So they are the real driving force. They are the engine and the fuel. The fuel is of course supplied by Ganesh, and however they are the engine and the wheels and everything else. And I thank the contributing editors for their diligent work, unfailing and always on time. It has been going on for a long time. Like I said, every single day there's an article a quality article, and nothing, no deadlines are missed. So the contributing editors are the real reason for Precha, and I thank them. Last but not the least, I thank the audience who have graced us with their presence here, and those of them who are watching over the internet and who shall watch this program in future. I thank them all. Thank you so much.